Happy Monday, everybody, wherever you are, however you may be listening. It's fucking Monday, and we're here. Nice to see you guys. Thanks for making us part of your day. Sorry about last week. Thursday and Friday take too long. Before I know it, Saturday's gone, and then it was Sunday now, and you can bet that I'm all right. We're back. Sorry. We had just court. Court is fucking sucks. Court sucks. I'm supposed to have court again this coming Thursday. That's possible. It may get canceled. Don't really know. But thank you guys for your patience. Thank God it's now instead of in the heat of midterm elections. Hopefully we get that done. Is that a Gary's VHS hat? No, the Gary's VHS hat is navy blue, and I don't know where it is. I gotta find that at some point. This is what is this hat? This is, mostly locals is the brand here. So thank you. Well, welcome everybody on TikTok. Good to have you guys here. Make sure you're sharing that out to your friends and see if we can get some traction before we get banned. Inevitably, not a ton of Israel. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's a ton of bannable stuff on TikTok today on the outline. So I think we'll probably be okay. Thank you. Having RTP withdrawals. Well, great news. You can. What's the opposite of a withdrawal? An intake? Is that the opposite of withdrawal? Here's some intake for you. Take it in.
It's RTP fix. I think this would be
a fix. Yeah, that's right.
Fix.
That's right.
That makes
fix.
Sense.
Here's your fix. Speaking of fixed. Hey, Jen.
What? What does that even mean?
I don't know. That was it. I don't know. I can't remember actually if you could have kids or not.
What does that even mean?
I got a puppy this weekend. It's not fixed. You guys want to see the puppy? I haven't you shown Jen. You guys want to see?
Yes, of course.
All right. I'll be right back. Jen, talk to him for a second. I'll go get the puppy.
All right. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I see a lot of people freaking out about the start time. You guys you're not new here. Him not necessarily being on time shouldn't surprise anybody. So you guys will be okay. So don't get too worked up unless it's put in announcements where the show will happen. So everything will be okay.
This is Archibald. Can you look, bud? Oh, right there. He's a little scared right now. Archibald is a King Charles Spaniard. And I just woke him up from... I probably won't be able to hear you because he keeps knocking out my... Oh. Let's turn you this way. There you go. Now we can see. This is Archibald. He's a King Charles Spaniel. He's sweet, and he's very tired from his naps. But you can see, just a good boy. My daughter needed a friend. Yeah, King Charles Cavalier is what's called. That wasn't even a bark. That was a sneeze. He's got some allergies. But this is my daughter's dog. We switched names a few times. What were the names? What were your names? Ethan was the first name. And then she wanted to name him Snickers. And then we settled on Archibald, but it's going to be Archie for short. So I can't even get an American dog. You're right. I know. I let my daughter choose. I didn't have any choice. But say hi, buddy. He has two. Let's see if we can do this. He has two different colored eyes. I forget what that's called, but you can see there. Got a blue eye and a black eye. He's just happy to be here. All right, I'm going to go put him back on the... Crazy thing is, he's like 4 months, just sits on the couch, 0 accidents. I don't know if he's potty trained, but if I keep him on his blanket, then he doesn't have accidents. So I'll be right back.
I don't think he could hear me. I think he said Archibald. I don't... Is Archibald a...
There we go.
Very cute.
There's some cuteness, but he's so sweet.
He's 4 months old.
Yeah, just under 4 months old, and he is so gentle. My daughter just holds him like in a bear hug, as whenever she wants. He doesn't even care. He's the sweetest little guy. Haven't heard him bark yet. He doesn't whine. He just chills. He's the most chill dog ever.
I've been petless for a year, Like
Ooh.
it's weird not having a dog.
Well, I bought you a
Uh,
pet, and I was gonna send it to you, but I left it in my car for too long, and now it's dead. So I still have not sent that. God damn it! I got Jen a gift maybe 3 weeks ago. How long ago do you think it was, Jen?
I don't. That sounds probably about right.
It is sitting in the back of my car. I've moved it to the front of my car so that I'll remember it. It is taped up. I just need to go to FedEx and ship it. And yeah.
I think I think a lot of those. Do you have a silly question? You probably don't have a printer. That's probably a silly question. I don't know why I'd ask that, but
I think I
if you
told
had
you
a
this. I think
printer,
I told you a very
yes,
story about how I definitely
yes,
do not have a printer.
yeah. That's why I said how I said it. So yeah. But
Yeah.
if you had the printer, you could print out the label and they can pick it up from your house. You could drop it off
What's crazy
somewhere.
is I have a label maker, like one of those things that you can just print right from the computer, and it like prints out the label for you. But that is currently embargoed by a very fun ex-wife. We'll say that. we are
So
having we are having a lot of fun. I also had a crazy. I got a phone call on Saturday night from one of my former, like, I'm gonna say companion, but that's just the word we use, like mission companion from when I was Mormon. He is now a physician's assistant. Or is that what it's called? Is that can't be right? Is a PA a physician's assistant? Is that what it is? Is that what PA is?
like for like in medically.
Yeah, hold on. I need to like, buzz somebody in. Hold on. I think. I'm so sorry. I think that's it. There we go. Buzzed him in. There we go. Um,
Okay.
it is PA. Okay, so he's a PA now, and he just called me. He called me to tell me he's not Mormon anymore either, and reminisced on some mission stories that were unreal. One of them I had totally forgotten about. When you're a Mormon missionary, like when people always like give you dinner, and they'll cook for you or they'll take you out. And not once did I ever pay for dinner while I was a Mormon missionary with if we went with like other people. And we went to this. I don't remember even who these people were. We met them. We went to this like really nice steakhouse. They took us there, and after we ate, we were like, "Thank you," and we left. And they weren't Mormon, and they didn't know, so they like tracked us down and like called the police and said we stiffed them on like it was like a 300 with no alcohol. It was still like a $300 bill of what we racked up. He reminded me of that. And one time we almost got kicked off of our mission because we were down at Gonzaga, and it was around Halloween time, and everybody thought that like they were all out for Halloween parties, and they all thought that we were in costume. So people kept taking like pictures with us, thinking that we had really great Mormon costumes. And then there's some. I don't know if they were real. I don't know if they were actually Girl Scouts. I'm starting to think they weren't Girl Scouts. Um, the fit was wrong on the outfits. The fit they seemed a little provocative for actual Girl Scouts, but they put on like our name tags. And then like some other Mormon missionary was like in our apartment one time and found the pictures and took pictures of them and like sent them. And we got in trouble. And we were just reminiscing about how funny it was that we got in trouble for taking pictures with women on Halloween, and it almost got us like sent home. So, thanks,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, 20 somethings typically aren't girl. I mean, I could be wrong, but
That's what I think too, because I've never seen when I get Girl Scout cookies, it's usually like outside a grocery store. I've never seen anybody in their 20s unless their kid was a
so
Girl Scout.
did they offer you their cookie?
You know what? They probably did, and I probably didn't get it. There was probably something
Got it.
like that, some sort of like once they
Probably.
found out we were actually Mormons, they started making a lot of jokes, and our faces got very, very red. So,
I mean, that would make sense. I mean, to me, but
all right.
so well,
Well, how was your
that's
weekend? People were
that's
wondering how things are with Duke.
good. We saw each other yesterday.
Mm.
So Spawn and I have been
Where'd you see each other?
discussing. We went to lunch and then we went and saw a movie.
What'd we eat for lunch?
Um, um, he had some kind of chicken sandwich thing, and I had
I meant where, not.
pretzels.
Oh, maybe you don't want to say where. Never mind. My bad.
Yeah, I don't know how local
Gotcha.
this place is, but yeah, so we went and did that, and then it was hot as balls outside, so we were trying to find something that didn't have to be outside. So we went to the movies and saw one night,
Beetlejuice.
one night only,
Oh,
um, which actually was pretty funny. If you guys don't know what
who's in that?
the no one famous enough that I can remember the names off the top of my head, but
Monica Barbaro, Callum Turner, King
yeah.
Princess Maya. I don't know any of these people. Okay.
Yeah. But so the gist of the movie basically was it was like supposed to be like 3 years from now,
Okay.
and the government passed a law that people couldn't have any premarital sex. Like they would put like a chip in you more or less. And
I bet Spawn loved this for you.
well, so she didn't know like she's not she, we've talked about her meeting him at some point because it's just me and her.
Yeah.
Um and but she's not quite comfortable yet. So it's like I trying to
That part's hard. That part's honestly really hard. And I think you
yeah,
can, like, it's so easy when you're dating to try and get into that one early. And then, like, I don't know. That one's a difficult one.
yeah.
We
So
went a little early, I think. So we've pulled way back. Like, we don't really see each other's kids now. So we're gonna pull back a little bit.
yeah, I mean it's with it just being me, like she doesn't go anywhere
Yeah.
on the weekends. So I'm trying to figure out, not trying to rush too fast to so we're sorting that out. But I mean he's got his set days or so yeah, we went and saw the movie, like I said, was they put a chip in you, anyone who's not married. And so like you could get arrested, like it notifies the government if you have premarital relations. And in the very beginning of the movie, it was kind of creepy because the president looked like JD Vance.
That is
Like the
creepy.
actor that played the president looked like JD Vance.
What's the it's one
So
night only? Let me
yeah,
see if I
one night
can.
only. It was pretty funny. Um, so yeah, we went and saw that, and yeah, so
LeVar
that was
Burton is
that's
in this?
I don't know who that is.
The Reading Rainbow guy. Butterfly in the sky.
I don't.
I can
I'm
fly
terrible
twice as
with
high. He's also
those
from Star
names.
Wars. I don't know his name. He has like I don't know what those things are. The like straight around glasses, the wraparound shades, the original Oakleys.
Yeah, I
What's
don't know.
Star Trek? Did I say Star Wars? Star Trek. They're saying. Sorry, I might have said Star Wars. Sorry. I knew what
Yeah,
I was. I
so
knew what I meant. Star Trek.
God,
What's his name in Star Trek? He's in Roots. That's right. Also in Roots. His name's Geordi in Star Trek. All right. I don't know Star Trek. All right. Well, how movie was good.
yeah, it was good. Trying to
I
it's
heard you got kicked out for vaping.
I've never
Well, it was vaping and other
smoked.
stuff, but I think what originally got you reported was vaping. Is that correct?
No, no, this no. Anyways,
Start calling you
yeah. So
Colorado Jen.
that was about the extent of it. For for it wasn't super exciting in general, but yeah, there. So that was it. So sounds like we both had exciting weekends.
My weekend was insane, and I can't tell you guys about it because
I
there's
know.
pending court cases. But I did have an insane weekend. But
Well, there's it. I mean, people like Jay and I don't typically talk like on the weekends. We don't chat on the phone. So
Jen will not
in the
return my
morning,
texts on the weekends.
you're such a liar. You are such a liar.
Oh, sorry.
But so in before the show gets started, we'll hop in the VC. So sometimes if we run a little long, it's because we're catching up on stuff that happened. So
True.
yeah, so there's that. But we can get going with the show. So
Was it a Venmo that came through earlier? Can you remind me
mhm.
what that was? I can't remember.
It was well, it actually came out through on the weekend. I didn't. So um, Diava, is that how she says her name?
Yeah.
Diava. Talks. Talks is interviewing a guy who's running against Mike Johnson Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and would like to invite you to join if you are available. So
Okay. Well, Diava, if you're here or whoever sent that message, if you'll DM me or Jen on Discord to get the details on that, I can't confirm because I don't know the details on that, but it sounds like a good time, and I would love to help out as much as I could. Diava was one of our very first. Is she still a mod? Used to
I
be.
haven't unmodded her, so I'm
There you
guessing
go.
so.
All right, Diava, if you're here, love you. Haven't talked to you in a long time. Hope to see you soon. So we may be doing that. You said what day was that? Thursday?
Wednesday
Wednesday.
at
Nailed it.
6 Eastern.
6 Eastern
So
on Wednesday.
that's
That
like
might
30
work.
Pacific.
Okay, that might work. We could possibly do that. Let you know. All
So,
right.
yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, nothing super exciting that we can discuss here. Well, I mean, so, but yeah, so that we can get going.
Yeah, go ahead. Do your
It's
announcements.
stupid. No, that has been like a stress for Spawn, but she's emphasized she does not want me having any other kids, which her
Well,
and
then
I
I
are in
don't
the
know what
same
she
page.
was so upset about. That sounds like you were doing everything.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, trying to explain this shit to a 12-year-old who also tells you you're not dating unless you ask someone out.
It's true. It's true.
What are you laughing at now?
Nothing. I just said I don't know. Well, maybe you missed what I said. I said I don't know what she was so upset about. Then, if
Oh,
her big
yeah,
concern is you getting pregnant, sounds like you're doing everything you
well,
can.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Got it. Anyway, well, we can get we can get started. Welcome everybody.
Yeah.
After 2 days from last week, we're back. So glad everyone's here. Uh, we've got our gift goal that we need to hit each day: Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all of that go towards knocking down that gift goal. We need to um, hit the goal so we can keep the lights on, so Jay can pay for his attorneys and court stuff. So if you guys want to help us out, seated, we wouldn't complain. If you haven't subscribed to us, you should. Um, if you're a paid member on any of the platforms, you can join us for members only events. We don't have, it won't be this week, but next one, we do them every other Wednesday. So next Wednesday, we'll have the next one.
Guess what I just
And
found
so
out?
what?
There's new episodes of The Altar, that Mormon dating show. There's a new season.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's an option.
That's on it.
Guys.
Yeah, that's going to happen again.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
Sorry.
um, Yeah, sorry, got me distracted with that. If you guys disagree with our TP and would like to come up and have a conversation, you can do so by sending me a message on Discord, and I can bring you on to have a conversation. My Discord is username is the same as the Venmo, so Jen with 2 N's, Dub with 2 B's, the number one. Check out the link tree in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch, Jay's on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify when they don't get blocked. Which seems to be happening often. So
Yeah.
well, like I said, it's hit and miss. But
Did you say it's
why? Huh?
hit and miss? Never mind. Sorry.
Hit and miss.
Gotcha.
Why don't vampires cause unwanted pregnancies?
Why don't vampires cause unwanted pregnancies? I don't know.
Because they can't come inside if they're not invited.
I didn't know that about vampires, to be honest. Is that's a thing with vampires?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
If you don't invite the vampire in, they can't come inside.
I like that one. Sorry, look, that was distracting. That wasn't fair. Soup for my fam. My girlfriend walked in. She works from my place on Mondays, and she was holding my dog. It's the first time she saw the dog, so I was looking at her holding the dog. That's why. So I apologize for that. That was the distraction there. Thank you, Jen. And I learned something new about vampires. We're off to a great fucking start today. Robert says, substation dues, hashtag we dem boys. Ugh, 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 ugh. Yucky. Yucky, yucky, yucky. We are not dem boys. Jen said, it's Thursday at 6 Eastern. I will tell her to DM you. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that. That's talking for Diava. It is Thursday. Shit. That'll be tricky. I'll see what I can do. We'll see if my daughter wants to cooperate on that one. I'll see if I can invite her, or maybe one of her friends over or something. See how that goes. All right, let's get into things today. As Jen said, we are crowdfunded, and the legal bills are piling up, and that's the wrong fucking screen. We'll go to this one instead. So if you do want to help us pay our bills, that'd be greatly appreciated. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App are the way to go. We have a daily goal that we need to hit in order for us to keep the lights on here. If we don't hit that, Jen eventually quits, and then you guys are stuck with me, and then I think everything just falls apart. So if you like being here and you're able to help, please do. If you like being here and you're unable to help, please don't. If you don't like being here and want to help, please do. If you don't like being here and don't want to help, please don't. But we can help you find something else that might be more enjoyable for you. And I'm sorry that we are not pleasing you today. But maybe Harry Enton, everybody's favorite pollster, will please, I don't want to say it like that, not please you, make you pleased by giving you the numbers on how popular or unpopular Pete, I whacked myself in the nuts with a skateboard, Hegseth is.
Do not like where it is going. How do they feel about the person in the president's cabinet perhaps most responsible for the war? With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton. I'm talking about the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. How do people think he's doing?
You know, when it comes to the Trump administration officials, it's not exactly like we're dealing with the 1927 Yankees, according to the American people. But, you know, you just look at Pete Hegseth, and he manages to be the lowest of the low. That's what we're talking about. Take a look here. Trump
Give it
administration.
up for Pete Hegseth, everybody. Somehow more unpopular than J.D. Vance and RFK and Marco Rubio. Congratulations, Pete Hegseth.
Officials' net job approval rating. Look, they're all underwater here. You got four guys across your screen. You got Marco Rubio, who's at -8. You got RFK Jr., -9. You got J.D. Vance, the vice president, -17. But who takes the cake here? Look at this. Pete Hegseth, as I said, the lowest of the low, 22 points underwater. And this has been something that's been going on throughout the entire administration. He has been underwater in every single poll that I could find. That is his job disapproval rating being above his job approval rating, and Iran has not.
He really is just like the most unlikable person in the administration. I don't know anybody that likes Pete Hegseth. Even like MAGA people don't really like Pete Hegseth. I think everybody knows Pete Hegseth's kind of a piece of shit.
The comparison to Rubio here is
Way to
really
go,
apt
Pete.
because they're both seen as involved with the war in Iran,
Correct.
but Rubio's -8, Hegseth -22.
Yeah, Rubio is the one who, relatively
Thanks, Damien,
speaking,
for
is coming
joining
out
the Dollar
smelling like
Train.
roses, especially as he looks ahead to 2028, potentially in J.D. Vance.
All right.
So shocking. The drunk boy, wife, cheater, Fox Sunday host isn't doing well. Yeah, it's crazy that a guy with no experience in a small a malfunctioning brain isn't doing a great job running the military.
So talk about
I like him. All right. Why do you like him, B. Corthus? He also hates women and brown people. That's got to be the only thing. There's no way you like him for the job he's doing.
Pete Hegseth in comparison to other past secretaries of defense who may have had, shall we say, popularity issues.
Yeah, the one that comes to my mind in the middle of a war is Donald Rumsfeld back in 2006, right? Heading into a midterm election where it doesn't look like your party is going to do particularly well. Net popularity rating of defense.
He's got Rumsfeld beat by 15 points. Yikes. Yikes, Box. The guy that got us into Iraq. Hegseth got him beat by 15 points.
Secretaries at this point in midterm. Look at this. Pete Hegseth, again, 22 points underwater. This is historically low because Donald Rumsfeld, who wasn't exactly smelling the roses,
Let's get real. I don't like anyone with an R behind their name. That's not true. I like some Republicans. I like Thomas Massey. What's wrong with Thomas Massey? I'm going to disagree. First of all, Cowdy, I'm going to disagree with most of what Republicans say, but I find some of them like okay. I have friends, not every Monday night, but occasionally, like once a month on a Monday night, I go to dinner with my friend and his wife. They're super MAGA, like super MAGA, and we talk about healthcare a lot. They're like from Canada, and then they're super. We mostly don't talk politics, but look, you can have shitty politics, and I still don't hate you, but. The problem with the Trump administration is everybody he elevates is such a fucking piece of shit. Like he took the worst people in your party and elevated them. Nobody else would even give these people jobs with the exception of Rubio, and then he just elevated them.
7 points underwater. Again, a net popularity rating in the negative underwater, but still 50.
I'd go with Whittle Miller, but yeah, well, Stephen Miller isn't somebody that required confirmation, so I don't usually count him. I'm talking about the people in the administration that required confirmation.
15 points better than Pete Hegseth. And why is this comparison in my mind so much? Is because, remember, Don Rumsfeld was essentially forced to resign after those midterm elections, after Republicans got crushed. And I think there's some question, if the midterms go the way that a lot of folks think they might go, will Donald Trump's tune on this gentleman right here perhaps change a little bit? Well, we'll have to wait and see.
He still has his job for now, the Secretary of Defense. How does he compare?
I don't know how you could be friends with people who don't live in reality. I don't know. I watch movies too. Yeah. I don't need somebody to live in the same reality as I do in order to be their friend. As long as you're like a kind person, you're not going out of your way to treat people poorly. Like, we can probably be friends.
In terms of popularity to cabinet secretaries who no longer have their jobs.
Yeah, okay, Johnny B had it exactly right. You know, as I said, Donald Trump has been defending Pete Hegseth, but I have to ask the question, for how long? Because he's defended a lot of other secretaries in his cabinet, and then they went adios amigos, goodbye, see you later. Net approval rating of Pete Hegseth now, 22 points underwater. Well, Pam Bondi was only 20 points underwater before she got sent packing by Donald Trump, and Kristi Noem was 16 points underwater before she got packing by Donald Trump. And now we got Pete Hegseth, who is more unpopular than either of these two women on the left side of your screen. So again,
that's bad news in the Republican Party if you're more unpopular than the women. It's not good. They start with a -10 net approval rating. If you're in a worse position than the women of MAGA, you're really fucked.
I have to ask the question is, how long is Donald Trump going to stick by Pete Hegseth?
Ironically enough, there, between all three of those, Pete Hegseth might have had the most gender-affirming care. He might be the person wearing the most makeup with the most gender-affirming care.
He is currently, but these numbers suggest he might not always be.
The red lights.
Yeah, all right. Well,
Do not
tough go at it. This is a deeply unpopular war. Obama actually was interviewed by Stephen Colbert. I found this really interesting. I do think it's worth, especially Republicans, while you're here, could you chill for a sec? Could you do me a favor and just chill for a sec and just live in reality with us just for a minute? And I want you to think about how the Iranians acted before the JCPOA, during the JCPOA, and now. And just be honest with yourself. Which president was more effective dealing with the Iranians, Obama or Trump?
It's currently April as we sit down to talk, and the United States is again embroiled in a Middle Eastern conflict. Yeah. Negotiating the Iran.
Are there any respectful or kind MAGA at this point, though, Jay? Look, not on the internet. No. I saw a post the other day that somebody was talking. I think it was Matt Walsh. I can't remember who it was. And they were talking about some sort of position that they were claiming progressives had. And I asked for just like any instance of a progressive that held that position in office, and nobody could have one, but they all pointed to like, are you kidding? Somebody says this on a Twitter thread. I don't think you find like great people consistently commenting on the internet. So no, I don't think there's a lot on the internet, but in real life, there's people who just show up every 4 years and vote Republican, and they don't really know what the fuck's going on. They don't care to know what's going on. I don't think that's an excuse, but I do think that those people are much easier to get along with than the people who know what they're voting for and advocate for it.
Nuclear deal was one of the major achievements of your presidency. Yeah. As you were in the throes of that diplomacy, to what level was military action a tool in your arsenal, or was that considered at all?
Oh, it was definitely considered.
What's the push-pull between diplomacy and military action?
My basic theory was that Iran couldn't become a nuclear state, that the regime itself was murderous, oftentimes towards its own people, engaged in state-sponsored terrorism, was a threat to...
One of the reasons I think this conversation is important is because I do think a lot of times in our desire to be on the right side of things, and sometimes in our desire to criticize Trump and MAGA, we do forget that like the Iranian leadership are scumbags. They don't treat They don't treat human life with the same value as we would, we would hopefully expect out of the leaders in this country. They are oppressive. They are sexist. They are misogynist. They are extremists in many cases. I do think sometimes we forget or not forget. I just think that we shouldn't run away from that. Both things can be true. You can think that they are evil and also say that that doesn't mean that we should murder them. That doesn't mean that we need to go to war with them. I think you can hold both those positions pretty easily. And that's, I think, obviously the position that Obama held. I think it's the Obama that most Americans hold if they're not currently arguing whether or not Trump is doing the right thing. I think most people think that if there's just leadership you disagree with, and maybe they're a bit oppressive to the people in their country, that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to go in and blow up their country. Some of you might think that, and if that's your political ideology, great. I don't know how you voted for Trump because that was the opposite of what he said, but you're probably thrilled with what he's doing now.
The United States and allies of ours. So the idea that they would have nuclear weapons would be extraordinarily dangerous. It would also trigger a nuclear arms race in what is a powder keg. What I also believed was that the regime was not entirely irrational, that they had a survival instinct, and that when you carry out military force, innocent people die, so we should try to use that as a last resort instead of the first. And we went about trying to negotiate a diplomatic agreement that would get the enriched uranium out of Iran, that would assure that they could not get to a nuclear weapon without us knowing about it. There was internationally...
Okay, so that's the same stated goal, right? It's the same goal that the current administration is saying, this is what we want. We don't want a nuclear Iran. It's what every president said before. So same goal, right? MAGA that's here, can we agree that's the same goal?
Agreed upon, and that there were mechanisms in place to enforce it and verify it. And we pulled it off. Without firing a missile, we got 97% of their enriched uranium out. They were able to maintain a modest civilian nuclear program for energy.
What percentage of their nuclear enriched material have we gotten out? Does anybody know? Since the start, since the end, I guess, of the JCPOA, since Donald Trump pulled us out of this agreement, what percentage of their enriched uranium have we gotten out? Yeah, we don't know, right? We have no idea. We haven't taken any out. We claim to have buried a lot of it, but even then, we don't know. Hard to say that what we're doing right now is more effective than what Obama did. We haven't went in. Yeah, exactly. And we didn't go in with Obama either, but we got 97% of it out.
And
so you think it was working?
Well, it's not only did I think it was working, even Israeli intelligence thought it was working. Even our intelligence services thought it was working. So there's no dispute that it worked, and we didn't have to kill a whole bunch of people or shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Now,
well, there was some dispute that it didn't work.
Well,
our present president believed that it didn't work, which is why he pulled out of it.
It's not clear that he didn't believe that it didn't work. He just said it didn't work.
Worst deal of all time.
Yeah, because I did it.
That's so honest. They laugh at that, but that's 100% true. He only got rid of that deal. Like, Obama negotiated a great deal. I know that hurts for a lot of Republicans to say. As somebody who campaigned against Obama twice, that probably would have hurt me if I still gave a shit about the Republican Party, which I don't. But that's true. The only way that you're calling what he did a failure is if you're just playing politics. He did that deal accomplished more than any amount of bloodshed in the Middle East has accomplished. It was smart,
which is fine.
It's funny how when Democrats do it, it's okay, but when Trump does it, no. Jason, maybe I can help you out here. He negotiated. Obama negotiated. There were no missiles. We didn't blow up a school full of girls. We weren't threatening to annihilate their entire country. We weren't spending billions of dollars a day on this war. The Strait of Hormuz wasn't closed. We just negotiated. And that negotiation, I think it ran through, I believe, 2030. We'd still be under that agreement. What Trump did is cancel that agreement, allow them to enrich uranium, and then bomb the shit out of them. So you can't say like when Dems do it, it's okay, but when Trump does it, it's a problem. Obama did it a totally different way. Biden also didn't bomb Iran. This is entirely different. Right, Jason? Right, Jason? Right, Jason? Right? I need you to say right, Jason. You've already moved on to some other topic, but right, Jason? It's different?
Seems to be a pattern. But there is no serious independent folks who would say that it didn't work with respect to the nuclear program. Now,
Jason, you have to respond to what I say. All right, mods, get ready to mute Jason for 5 minutes. Jason, is the way that Obama approached Iran and Trump approached Iran different? Is it different? Yes or no? That's all we need from you. Don't change the subject, please. Or we got to mute you. I have to do this. I hate when you guys come in here and do this and make me stop the show, and then you run and you won't have a real conversation. So I just need a yes or no. Thanks, Jason.
if your agenda was to bring about regime change in Iran, well, that wasn't the goal of the agreement. If your goal was to dismantle the Iranian military so that it couldn't cause any other problems in the region, then it didn't do that, but that wasn't the goal, right? So part of...
Melanie said the beauty of the JCPOA is it was backed and signed by Iran's allies, China and Russia. They kept Iran in check. True. Mods, go ahead and mute Jason for 5 minutes. Thanks.
This balance between military force and diplomacy is based on what are your objectives? What are your goals? And is it important for the United States as the most powerful nation on earth to show certain restraint? To say, all right, we'd rather take care of this really big problem, recognize we're not going to solve all problems without going to war, rather than pretend or delude ourselves into thinking that just by going to war we're going to fix all problems, where usually we end up causing more.
I was not ready for that. Probably can get copyright stricken now for that. Significantly different. I want you to pay attention to what Republicans said, because here's Rubio, who is now obviously part of this administration. Just tell me if any of this sounds familiar. This was, what, 10 years ago? Yeah, 10 years ago is when this was. You tell me if this all sounds familiar to you.
Order. Mr. President, I'll be brief. I know the senator from Tennessee would like to close on this matter. I think everything that needs to be said about the details of this deal have already been said. I do want to be recorded for history's purposes.
Okay, so let's see what he predicted would happen.
I know what was going to happen in regards to this if it goes through. Iran will immediately use the money that it's receiving in sanctions relief to begin to build up its conventional capabilities. It will establish the most dominant military power in the region outside of the United States, and it will raise the price of us operating in the region. They're going to build anti-access capabilities, rockets capable of destroying our aircraft carriers and ships. Continue to build these swift boats that are able to come on us, these fast boats that are able to swarm our naval assets. And they'll make it harder and harder for U.S. troops to be in the region. They'll also work with other terrorist groups in the region to target American servicemen and women. And they may or may not deny that they're involved, but they will target us and raise the price of our presence in the Middle East until they hope to completely pull us out of that region. They'll also continue to build long-range missiles, missiles capable of reaching the United States. Those are not affected by this deal, and they'll continue to build them as they've been doing. And then at some point in the near future, when the time is right, they will build a nuclear weapon. And they will do so because at that point they will know that they have become immune, that we will no longer be able to strike their nuclear program because the price of doing so will be too high.
All right, so let's talk about that a little bit. It is true that they started building up their military after the sanctions relief. They raised their spending by about 24%. And they built up their specifically defense with the conventional military, missiles, and regional activity. They initially reduced most of their capacity to meet those requirements. And then when the U.S. withdrew from the agreement in 2029, then suddenly they increased their nuclear capability. So ironically enough, the thing that Marco Rubio is saying here that they would increase their nuclear capability only took place once Donald Trump took office and pulled us out of the JCPOA.
This is not just a work of imagination. It exists in the world today. It's called North Korea, where a lunatic possesses dozens of nuclear weapons and a long-range rocket that can already reach the United States.
That sounds an awful lot like Israel.
And we cannot do anything about it. An attack on North Korea today would result in an attack on Tokyo.
Don't leave out all the money that Obama sent them. Well, listen, Lisa, I'm happy to talk to you about that. But if you are critical of the money that Obama sent them, which was their money, not our money, right? It was money that had been confiscated, but it was theirs. Then you also need to criticize this man right here who's speaking and the Trump administration, because in the memorandum of understanding, they were going to give Iran more money than Obama did. So that's fine. If that's I don't have a problem with taking the money that's been sanctioned and confiscated and giving it back to them. I actually don't have a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with Obama doing it. I didn't have a problem with Trump doing it in the MOU. But if you only have a problem with Obama doing it, perhaps it's not your real beef, right? Perhaps you're just a partisan.
Or Seoul, or Guam, or Hawaii, or California. And so the world must now live with a lunatic in possession of nuclear weapons. And this is the goal Iran has as well, to reach a point where they become immune to any sort of credible military threat, because the price of a military strike would be too high. And then they become an established nuclear weapons power. And never in the history of the world has such a regime ever possessed weapons so capable of destruction. Iran is led by a supreme leader who is a radical Shia cleric with an apocalyptic vision of the future. He is not a traditional...
Good thing that the Trump administration killed him and left Iran with a more radical leader.
...geopolitical actor who makes decisions on the basis of borders or simply history.
Oh, I wanted to answer that. Somebody said, do you give a drug dealer back their money when they get out of prison? No, but the money that we had confiscated from Iran was almost exclusively proceeds from oil sales and foreign investments. It wasn't money that was being used illegally, right? It wasn't to commit crimes. It was literally money that they earned from selling oil and then investing in projects around the world.
Or because of ambitions. He has an religious apocalyptic vision of the future, one that calls for triggering a conflict between the non-Muslim world and the Muslim world, one that he feels especially obligated to trigger. And he's going to possess nuclear weapons. This is the world that we are on the verge of leaving our children to inherit. And perhaps we ourselves will have to share in it. And so I want to be recorded for history's purposes, if nothing else, to say that those of us who oppose this deal...
Who's saying the weapon sales? That was a separate settlement. So the weapon sales was a different settlement. I think that was like $1.7 billion. The liquid funds that were released that were unfrozen assets were between 50 and 150 billion. The 1.7 billion though was a $400 million settlement because of I think the Iranians had paid the military in a trust fund before 1979, and we never delivered on the weapons. So that's what that money was for.
Understood where it would lead. And we are making a terrible mistake. And I fear that a passage of this deal will make it even harder for us to prevent it. And I hope that there is still time to change our minds, but here's the good news. Iran may have a supreme leader, but America does not.
Well, that didn't age well.
In this nation, we have a republic. And soon we will have new leaders, perhaps in this chamber, but also in the executive branch. And I pray that on their first day in office, they will reverse this deal and reimpose the sanctions and back them up with a credible threat of military force, or history will condemn us.
So instead, we pulled out of the deal, slapped on sanctions, and then hit them militarily, and none of it worked. Young Marco was wrong then, just like old Marco is wrong now. Doesn't work. Regime change just never works. I don't know why we're replaying this game over and over and over again, but I just wanted to point that out. Great news, guys. We finally have evidence that the 2020 election was stolen. Peter Navarro was on with Steve Bannon to tell us all about it. And if you can't trust Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, then who the fuck can you trust?
It's very good news. And I'll have some Good stuff for you this week, Steve. Your audience might get tired of me, but I'm going to demand to come back. I've been digging through all of the stuff that John Solomon has been able to get out into the public, which has been, of course, ignored by the legacy media. But
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. He's talking about the stuff that's come out of the whitehouse.gov here. I don't know what's wrong with Peter Navarro. He should know, but if you go to the whitehouse.gov, you can go to election integrity. One of the things he's going to talk about is this Maricopa County breach, which if we can, I think I already downloaded it once before. Like I promise you, like this is this the right one? This is what they're pointing to. This is the big like smoking gun. The FBI, this is a letter written on August 4th, right before Trump did his speech, I think, and just said that the FBI can confirm that the incident in Maricopa County mentioned in the election 2020 cyber intrusion logs kept by U.S. intelligence agencies was fully investigated by the Bureau. The FBI confirmed that voters' records were illegally extracted from the site and identified a suspect who admitted the crime. The suspect told agents he discovered the vulnerability on Maricopa County's registrar services, wrote a PowerShell script to exploit it, and then illegally scraped 633,000 voter files that included 930 that were sensitive, non-public data. He kept the files stored as he just got the data files. They're the voter files. That's it. And they're calling this like election fraud. The election was stolen. What's your evidence? This guy got access to the voter rolls. Oh, and what did he do with them? Nothing. Great. For sure it's voter fraud. Back to Peter Navarro.
I'm doing my job in packaging that in very easy to understand messages and op-eds. So stay tuned. You're going to be talking to me about the depth and breadth of the stuff that's out there. I mean, if you look at what John's put up there on the White House site,
it's amazing.
It's amazing. China, Maricopa
it's amazing.
County.
It's literally nothing. It's people getting access to the voter rolls, and that's it. I mean, it's got to be cool to be Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro to just like be able to tell your audience all the time, this is actually really, really important stuff. This is really compelling stuff. And then they're like, oh, it just must be compelling. Nobody ever read it. Did none of you read this? After Trump gave that speech, did none of you read any of this stuff? Like there is no proof of anything other than some people had access to publicly available information.
It's the vulnerabilities of the ballot box.
I watched 2020. It was obvious some kind of shenanigans happened. No. No, it wasn't. Because what shenanigans? How could watching it even expose the shenanigans? I watched and then the guy I voted for lost. Those must be the shenanigans.
Now listen, it's like this is what's so wrong, Steve, with just about every journalistic outlet except War Room. It's like they won't deal with the hard truth about what happened.
Mark, if you're going to come in here and lie, just like make them better. Like nobody here said that people who are undocumented weren't registered or voting in our elections. What we said is it's illegal for them to do so. That's what we've always said. There's no state where you can vote in the elections and it's legal if you are undocumented. There are 0 states that allow you to do that. That's always been the argument. You now have to spin it. You know how many states people who are undocumented vote in every election? Almost every state. And you know what happens? We catch it and we prosecute when we can. Nobody has ever said that people don't vote who aren't allowed to vote. We've just said that it's illegal to do so. When you guys say like Democrats are trying to make it so that people who are undocumented can vote, nobody's trying to do that. Nobody has proposed a law that says if you're undocumented, you get to vote. None of that exists. This is why it's so easy for people to convince somebody like you, Mark. One, you have way too much confidence for your limited scope of understanding. But all they have to do is tell you, Dems believe this. And you're like, oh, they do? And then they're like, yeah, look at this. Look in New Jersey, where there were 6,000 people on the voter rolls. And 400 of them made their way into voting day, and they voted. And you're like, see, that proves it. That doesn't prove anything. What did that prove? Was there a law that was changed in New Jersey that allowed people who were undocumented to vote? Did somebody propose a law? Is there something you can point to in the way that the election was administered in New Jersey that says, oh, Democrats definitely did this on purpose? Or did you just take what you heard and then take information, evidence that was unrelated to that claim and put the two together as if that proved your claim? Because that's what it feels like you did, Mark. It feels like you took a claim and you took evidence that isn't directly related to that claim and pretended that it was. And that's how easy it is. They keep you distracted. So thank you, Mark, for being here. It's great to have you here. Maybe you can learn some things. Maybe challenge your own beliefs a little bit. Just like we encourage you guys to challenge our beliefs, I would hope that you would take these as a challenge on your own beliefs and show a little bit of humility there, Mark. That'd be terrific. Thank you. Jen sending me the South Park shenanigans. Just a reminder, guys, we are crowdfunded, so anything you can do to help us knock out our gift goal by the end of the live would be greatly appreciated. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App are our preferred ways to go. We also take super chats, and on TikTok, make sure you're gifting to keep us alive. And looks like we've already got a restriction on TikTok. Terrific. Johnny D, La Ra Lee, always leading the top of the board there on TikTok. And then Jen, Plants on the Spectrum, and Rhino Chompers. Thank you guys for being here. And once again, I'll read anything you say. So even you, MAGA, if you need me to say what you want me to say, send a super chat, Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App, and we'll get that through.
2020. And so we're going to keep working it, and Solomon is going to do what Solomon does, keep getting more and more truth. And yeah, we need, Grassley's doing a great job at the Senate side. Jordan, yeah. I don't know what happened to Jim. He's been so unhelpful in so many ways with that gavel in his hand. But we're going to put this little heat on there to get some stuff done.
This is what we're trying.
All right, let's pull this up. We'll fact check this for you. Where did you go? Maddie said Hobbs stole the election in Arizona. More voters than registered voters. Let's look this up. Were there more people in Arizona that voted in 2020 than were registered to vote? Let's see what Perplexity has to say about this. And by the way, if this is wrong, instead of just criticizing this, could you just give me your source? You can pull up that source right now if you'd like, Mad Melly. No, in Arizona's November 3rd, 2020 election, the official statewide figures were 3.42 million-ish ballots cast and 4.2 million registered voters. The turnout rate of 80%. Whoops. Whoops. See what happens when all you have to do is just Google it. Mad Melly, just a quick Google, Perplexity, whatever. Do you have a different source? This is from what? Secretary of State? It's the primary actually there in 2026. We can go general election information 2020. Yeah. 80%, almost identical percentage, by the way, in 2024. Noticed you guys didn't complain about that one. 2016 was down just a hair. No complaints about that one, Mad Melly? What was your source? She counted her own votes? Hobbs broke the voter machines and then counted it herself. I live here too, Mad Melly. I also live in Maricopa County, and I've interviewed the people who were running that election, and everything you're saying is a lie. They took away all the evidence and they burned it. Oh, of course, yeah, of course. That's all it takes for you, right? They're like, there is evidence, but they took it all away and burned it. And then Katie Hobbs counted her own votes. What you mean is that she certified the election. That's what you mean. Not she counted her own votes. She certified the election because she's the fucking governor. So that's her job. And at the time, she won the governorship. She was the attorney general. That's what it was, I think, right? Wasn't Katie Hobbs the attorney general? Should know that. What was her role before? No, Chris Mays is the Attorney General. What was Hobbs' job before? Oh, no, I think you might be mixing up Chris Mays. Is Chris Mays the one that... I don't even know exactly what you're saying here. I'm trying to... Secretary of State? Was she Secretary of State? Is that what it was? That would make more sense because that's who would certify. Yeah, she was a Secretary of State until 2023. Yeah. Okay, cool. No, she doesn't count the votes, right? All right. Thanks, Mad Melly. I like when you show up so we can fact check things. That's fun. All right, moving on. My friends, if you are a Republican, God bless you. God bless you if you are a Republican who lives in South Carolina and this man is your representative. One thing I want to say, I'm going to play 2 Tim Scott clips here. The first is some fear-mongering. But I don't know if I've ever seen anybody more obviously scripted and coached than Tim Scott. You can watch him, like, he'll find the camera. He knows the time it's time to find the camera. He knows how to avoid answering any questions. And here he is talking to Trey Gowdy, who has just emerged from a 45-year stint in the vaginal canal, which is why his face and head is shaped that way. But Tim Scott, like all South Carolina Republicans, is just an absolute dipshit. And this is what they're running on in South Carolina now.
Yeah. Well, Trey, I got to say that when someone tells you who they are, believe them.
Okay.
The Democrats have been consistently saying they don't want to just get rid of the filibuster in these days. They actually want to get rid of the Senate. But
the President of the United States every day says, let's get rid of the filibuster. And Tim Scott goes on Fox News to say the Democrats are... There's not a single fucking Democrat who wants to get rid of the filibuster right now. Not fucking one. Why would they right now? Why would Democrats right now want to get rid of the filibuster? That would absolutely cripple them. It's crazy what... No pushback from Fox News. It is insane what you guys allow your politicians to do, all in the name of scaring you from socialism.
Just get rid of the filibuster in these days. They actually want to get rid of the Senate. But beyond that, they want to make sure that Puerto Rico and D.C. become states. They want to make sure that they pack the Supreme Court until they have a liberal, crazy, progressive majority.
Yeah.
The only way to...
all those things you just did, that's what the Republicans did. The Republicans are asking to end the filibuster. You can even see here, senators put on the spot over Trump's filibuster push. This man is trying to scare you that the Democrats will get rid of the filibuster, while underneath him on the Chiron, Fox News is saying senators are put on the spot over Trump's filibuster push. And it still works. It still works for some of you guys. I'm not going to be a socialist.
Stop that from happening, and I believe them, Trey, is to win elections. That means we have to stop Talarico in Michigan.
That's a good point, Proud Atheist. That is not what Democrats want. It is what the progressives want, which is that's what I want, and we are a small minority of the left.
By electing Mike Rogers, here's someone in Abdul El Said who says he wants to get rid of borders. He wants to
Nope, he didn't say that.
Punish police. He wants to
punish bad police.
Defund police. He
defund certain programs in police, sure.
Wants to defund ICE. How do we stop that from being a reality? Mike Rogers needs our support all across the country to make sure he's successful.
Why do any of you care about that? Can you guys give me one reason not to defund ICE? Give me one reason to keep ICE intact. Why shouldn't we defund ICE? Make the argument. Convince me. From what I can tell, ICE is an incredibly inefficient... Like, even if you like what ICE is doing, they're incredibly fucking inefficient. They don't deport in high numbers. They're clearly not going after dangerous criminals. Why would we keep funding this program? It's terrible. It's a massive waste of money. It's disrupting communities. And what's it accomplishing?
Michigan, Democrats would do it. We should get the votes to do it first. Without any question, we need the kind of Republicans being elected that will support President Trump and
There
his
it is.
objectives. And
We need Republicans who will kiss the ring. Again, not a single policy. You're not going to hear Republicans talking about a single fucking policy that they have in place or that they're pushing in order to make your life better. They simply have socialism scary. Vote for us because we're not socialist.
make it easier for us to have success legislatively.
All right, Chairman, here's a look. We'll listen.
All right. And then I want to show you this. Now he's adopted this. Now we're using the Islamophobia in the same way that Trump consistently uses it with Barack Hussein Obama. And now on with Manu Raju. Is it Manu Raju? He asked Tim Scott, like, why are you using all of a sudden? We just watched that clip. He just said Abdul El Sayed. And now all of a sudden he's using the full name. Raju's like, what are you doing here?
All your early attack ads against him, you're using his full name in these attack ads, which has gotten some attention. Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Sayed. He goes by Abdul El Sayed. Are you trying to say, hint, hint to voters, he's Muslim?
Not at all. What we're saying
100 fucking percent. 100%. What I call Islamophobia is what everyone else calls pattern recognition. What I call Islamophobia, Islamophobics call pattern recognition. What we call racists call pattern recognition. Yeah, you don't know how to identify patterns, right? What's the pattern you've identified? That there's more Muslims around than when you were younger? Oh, no. Oh, no. That if you go to certain places, you might hear a Muslim prayer. Oh, no. You might see somebody wearing Muslim religious garb. Oh, no. Pattern recognition of what? That there's less white people? Oh, no. Heaven forbid.
What we're only saying to voters is a simple thing. He says he's the most.
Oh,
your
shit.
Early attack ads against
Sorry.
him, you're using his. Are you trying to say, hint, hint to voters, he's
I want you to watch him reset here. His programming resets here.
Muslim?
Not at all. What we're saying what we're only saying to voters is a simple thing. He says he's the most. He says he's the most.
Did you see that? He is the most trained puppet you'll ever see in your life. They prepare the talking points for him. Make sure you look into the camera.
He says he's the most. He says he's the most dangerous candidate you can find. He's right.
Why Zionist? Fuck no, man. Fuck no.
We should trust his words, not ours.
But why not just use his name, Abdul El Sayed, which he goes by?
Well, listen, I go by Timothy Eugene, and so I get called that all the time.
Yeah, all of you knew that his name was Timothy Eugene Scott, right? For sure. That's what everybody always calls Tim Scott. Timothy Eugene Scott. Nobody knew that was his fucking name.
Timothy Eugene, and so I get called that all the time.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Nobody calls you that. Maybe your mom when you're in trouble. Maybe your mom when she's like, didn't you get married? Where is that wife of yours? We never see her.
I know with that question. It's about what he stands for. And we're going to focus and bring attention to
So we're calling him by his full name because it's about what he stands for.
fact that not only is he sympathetic for Hamas, not only does he run around with Hassan Pike or someone who said that Americans deserve 9/11, he should be held account for exactly where he stands and what he's for.
So
he's friends with Hassan. He has a Muslim name. That's what you got. That's what this guy's out here on CNN making the case for your party. Are you guys that bad? MAGA that's here. Are things going so poorly that you literally can't say anything? You're in charge of everything. You got the presidency, you got Congress, you got the Supreme Court, and you can't brag about one fucking thing you did? You can't tell us any sort of plan that you have. It's just, this guy's friends with Assad. Get him. Get him, boys. He says he's a democratic socialist. Get him, boys. Is that it? I know, L host. I get it. It's just attacks at me. By the way, if you're here and you think what I'm saying is incorrect, great news. You can come up here and you can talk to me. You can message JenDub1. See that Venmo username up there? That's Jen's Discord username as well. You're welcome to come up here and you can refute any of this if you'd like to. I would love to hear from one of you. Just any of you. Tell me what you're running on. Tell me what I, as a registered Republican, but certainly not a Republican, tell me why I should vote for a Republican. Just give me one reason. I have a sneaking suspicion that your reason will be something about Democrats. Nobody's mad. Oh, for sure. Yeah, nobody's mad. For sure. You're right. We're not mad. We're just screaming into the void on the internet, but we're not mad. You hate yourself. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe they hate themselves. I don't know. That's a good point. El Sayed is not a democratic socialist, does not call himself a democratic socialist. They just all call him that. Why did they kill? I think it was one guy that killed Charlie Kirk. I don't know why and I think he used he, him pronouns. So I don't know. I think the case is going right now. You can check that out. We're not covering the Charlie Kirk case. Sorry, but you can look that up yourself. All right. Here's Nancy Mace's turn at Islamophobia and fear-mongering. This one maybe is the most pathetic.
I want to ask you about something you posted online. A few days ago, you wrote, quote, "Every single Muslim holding public office in America is a Trojan horse and a threat to both national security and our republic." And then today, you essentially added, "If not wanting to be blown up, stabbed, or rammed by a car by a radical Islamist in the United States of America makes us Islamophobes, then so be it."
I think it does. I think it does. If you bring up that you don't want to be blown up when talking about somebody who is Muslim, then I think, yeah, you are Islamophobic. I think she nailed it.
Are you saying that anyone who is Muslim is a threat to
Yeah, Hector, I agree. I agree. She's right. She's Islamophobic. So is most of the right that's engaging in this right now. Yeah, you're just afraid of most things.
Country?
That's not what I said, and that's not what I said. Number one, I think we do have a real issue with radical.
I mean, it sounds
Islamic
like that's what you're saying.
Guys, Jake Lang almost lost his life for saying Christ is king. It wasn't for anything else he did. He just simply showed up and said Christ is king. Good Lord, you guys turn your worst people you turn into such fucking victims. It's not what almost cost him his life. I'm not a fan of political violence, but Jake Lang is not being punched in the face for saying Christ is king.
No, I was talking about elected officials. When you look at what has just happened.
So
in
any
the last
Muslim
couple
elected
of months,
officials, sorry to cut you off.
She's right. Look at how Islam has colonized every country it takes hold in. Who's going to tell her about Christianity? That's what all of these religions do. That's why these religions all suck. They all fucking suck. I don't like when a dominant religion takes hold in a society and then dominates the society. So I don't like your Christianity. Yeah, I don't like proselytizing. I think it all sucks. But I'm not more afraid of Islam than I am Christianity. I'm far more likely to be just because of my political views. I'm far more likely to be in danger from a Christian nationalist than an Islamic jihadist. In fact, there's almost no shot of me dealing with an Islamic extremist. It's almost never going to happen. I have to deal with Christian nationalists every day of my life. My daughter's surrounded by Christian nationalist douchebags. That's the biggest fear for me is white male Christian nationalists. That's the biggest threat to me and my daughter. You think you can scare me about Muslims? I've never had a Muslim in my life threaten me. Not one. Doesn't happen. Alexandria said, "I'm tired of elected officials having religious psychosis. They need to go through a psych eval before serving. Save us a bunch of time." It's just stop being bitches. Bro never talks about Jews. I talk about Jewish people all the time. I just don't think that, when we talk about Israel, I talk about the government of Israel. I don't like Judaism either. I don't like Christianity. I don't like Judaism. I don't like Islam. However, I will say, however, if you're talking about religions who all over the world have been able to capture government and put their teachings into the government, I'm going to look at Christianity and Islam more. In this country, we've had a ton of anti-Semitism. Ton. It's been, historically speaking, being Jewish in this country wasn't a great thing for you. Historically in this country, being a Christian has always been a good thing. Being a Muslim or a Jew has not always been a good thing for you. Nobody's persecuted in this country for being a Christian. So, living here in America, if I'm going to point to a religion doing the most harm, it's obviously Christianity, and it's not fucking close. And these people that wear crosses around their necks, like Nancy Mace, who herself has caused so much damage to Americans because they don't view things the same way that she does. Like, she's more of a threat to America than any other religion. They're a direct threat to the First Amendment. Christian nationalism is a direct threat to the First Amendment. Let's just call, like, you want to call balls and strikes? Let's call balls and strikes. Which religion is responsible for more damage in the or to their own people in Saudi Arabia? Probably Muslims, right? What about in America? It's Christians, right? Yeah, because we're a majority Christian. I'm sorry. Like, I don't like any of your religions. I think they're all nonsense. And I think especially if you think that your religion makes you better, or you think that the way that you believe means that you get to govern this way, like, I don't give a shit about your religion. You can keep it. You can have it yourself. That's the great thing about this country. You can have whatever religion. But I'm so tired of the people who speak about religious freedom in terms of, like, I need my religious freedom. Muslims all should be deported. Like, nah. Christianity is just as dangerous as Islam. Whenever you get people who believe things without evidence, and they can be manipulated into doing evil things because of their religion, I stand opposed to that. I read that one. Thank you.
But just to be clear, any elected Muslim officials.
Mamdani campaigned with an unindicted co-conspirator of the 1993 World Trade Center bombings. You have Abdul al-Sayed.
Cool. Who is that? I don't know who that is. Who is that? Is the CIA an unindicted co-conspirator of those bombings? After we funded Osama bin Laden?
Who was campaigning with Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9.
Ben, explain how what I'm doing is the same thing as what Nancy is doing. What I'm saying is I think all Christians, Muslims, and Jews should be able to live in this country and practice their religion however the fuck they want. And I will not stand opposed to any of that. I will only stand opposed when they take that religion and try and force it into law. And I would do that for somebody trying to implement Sharia law or Christian law, or if you're going back to the Old Testament, like if we all of a sudden said that Saturday was the Sabbath and you couldn't work on that day, you can't walk on that day. Perhaps if we weren't allowed to eat pork anymore, like any of those rules that are religious rules, I would oppose, regardless of your religion. Even if I agreed with it, right? I don't really like pork. I can deal without pork. But let's just say I hated pork. I still wouldn't support it. Some people like pork. And you're allowed to eat that here in this country. Doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. And if you don't want to eat pork because of your religious beliefs, great.
11. Yes, we should be very concerned.
He said he regretted those comments, but I take your point.
Yes, Sharia law is the law that Muslims live by. Exactly, that Muslims live by. So they can live by that law. They can do whatever, as long as it's not violating U.S. law. I don't care what laws you guide, like what guiding principles or laws you live your life by. You just can't force me to do it.
But that believe in this radical Islam ideology where women are covered head to toe. It's very oppressive, where we've seen grooming gangs over
But
in
Congresswoman,
Europe,
there's no indication that Mayor Mamdani has brought any of those.
I just point out everything she's saying about the oppression towards women. I grew up in a religion exactly like that. I grew up in a religion that oppressed women. I grew up in a religion that groomed people. I grew up in a religion that practiced polygamy. I grew up in a religion that was anti-government. I grew up in a religion that forced the religion into the law. That was here in America. Why doesn't anybody ever talk about the Mormons that way? How come nobody's afraid of the Mormons? The Mormons tried to assassinate a governor, Governor Wilburn Boggs of Missouri. Got any Missouri folks here? Did you know that the Mormons tried to assassinate your governor one time? Did you know that? They were moving in, the Mormons were moving in town to town all over the East Coast, starting in New York, then slowly moving westward through Illinois and Missouri, and they kept being run out. You know why? You know what they said about them? They said these immigrants are coming in and they're taking our jobs. They're changing our voting block. Get them out of here. Now nobody ever talks about that. Why? Because they live in Utah and they're almost exclusively white and nobody's afraid of them. But that's what the Mormons did.
Ideals to New York City governance.
That's a good point. They never called the Amish oppressive. Why is that? because they're not afraid of the Amish. The Amish are white.
That just being Muslim allows you, brings those in.
If you're playing footsie with an imam here in America who's an unindicted co-conspirator of the 1993 World Trade Center bombings, yeah, we have a real problem with that kind of ideology.
If we're going to play this game, multiple times there is a man named Ali Abdelaziz, who is a personal friend of the Trump kids and Dana White and all of the MAGA UFC fighters. Ali Abdelaziz, after 9/11, got taken off of a plane where he had multiple fake passports and he had connections with multiple terrorist groups. And the reason that he is still in this country and the reason that he is managing UFC fighters now is because he flipped on them. He snitched. If we're gonna talk about people who were, she's talking about the 1993 World Trade bombing. How about 2001? How about Ali Abdelaziz sitting ringside, shaking hands, taking pictures with Donald Trump? If you want to play that game, but play it across the board. I personally don't have a fucking problem with it. Personally, that's fine by me. They only have a problem with it when it's somebody who's Muslim. Mormons never tried to take over the government and doesn't preach killing other people who aren't their religion. Oh, my friend, are you wrong? I hope that you're not Mormon. Mormons absolutely believe that. They had their own army. They fought more than once. Do you remember when the Mormons went into in Nauvoo? There was a Nauvoo, which is in Illinois. There was a newspaper called the Nauvoo Expositor. And the Nauvoo Expositor wrote an article talking about how the Mormons were practicing polygamy. And the Mormons, directed by their leader, broke in and burned. I don't remember if they burned down the building, but they broke the printing press. They tried to silence other people's First Amendment speech based on a story that was absolutely true. And then they built up their own army and waited. They were run out of Nauvoo, Illinois. Then they went to Missouri. And then they wound up moving all the way to Utah. And it took the federal government threatening them with the military marching towards them before they finally abandoned those principles. They murdered. If you know about the Mountain Meadows Massacre, there were people coming from Missouri. They were coming from Missouri to California. And simply because they were from Missouri and they believed that people from Missouri had killed Joseph Smith, they took this group of people, they took them out into the Mountain Meadows, which is near Cedar City, Utah, and they murdered every one of them that was under the age of 2 or over the age of 2. And everybody under the age of 2, they kept and raised them as their own. With all due respect, if you are Mormon, know your history.
Congresswoman, when you make a blanket statement like that, it implies that every Muslim member of Congress or leadership, folks who, by the way, are elected by American citizens.
I am deeply concerned about Michigan Democrats nominating a guy hanging out with Hassan Piker who said America deserved 9/11.
Oh, lots of religions did bad things in the past, but now it's only Muslims. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, we're not currently bombing the shit out of the Middle East, right? We're not currently doing that. The Mormon Church isn't currently covering up sex abuse, right? They didn't just win a lawsuit in Arizona saying that they don't have to be mandatory reporters for sexual abuse of children, right? Yeah, no, all religions are perfect now except for the Muslims, for sure.
Who has a framed photo of the Twin Towers.
Which he's responded to and says he regrets those comments. But yes, keep going.
Yeah, but I mean, this is who he's hanging out with, this kind of person who's promoting, communist ideology. This is not something, America's not built on those values. And in the future, when
it's not, is it not? What are the values that we were built on? Chat.
Our granddaughters are wearing burqas to school, we're going to
There's
look
no
back
indication
and say,
that is happening on a wide basis. Folks that are getting into office.
Did you see the parade in Chicago today? Have you seen Dearborn? In Dearborn, Michigan.
An expression of culture, Congressman.
Guys, there were Muslims celebrating their faith. Be scared.
Is different than a blanket city policy.
With the guy complaining about.
Why am I hating on Mormons? I don't hate Mormons. My entire family's Mormon. I grew up Mormon. I was a Mormon for 30 years. I served a mission. I paid probably hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Mormon church. I don't hate Mormons. I don't like your church.
The call to prayer 5 times a day. They're trying to push these people out and our values out, and that's wrong. I think this is a conversation that we have to have. What are our values and what do they look like? I don't want to hear the call to prayer 5 times a day in an American city. I think
if you
that's
don't want to
wrong.
hear
It's
it,
not
that's
our
okay.
values.
The First Amendment, protects from freedom of religion. If you don't want to.
Yeah. That's what it always boils down to. I don't like it. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, these are the principles that we were founded on: establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. Tranquility. That sounds like a trans quilting group. Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That doesn't sound very capitalistic to me at all. That sounds like that would fit into the Communist Manifesto. Manifesto. Promote the general welfare, provide for the common defense, ensure domestic tranquility. That sounds a lot more communist than capitalist. Where are these principles that all these people keep talking? We were founded on these principles. When? I don't think Republicans have any idea what principles we were founded on. They seem to be very confused by this. Our posterity is our bloodlines. Sure. All of ours. Everybody that's a citizen, right? Yeah. What is promoted to our posterior? I don't know. That's the gay agenda. Let everybody know about that little G spot. James said, when does a joke become a dad joke? When the punchline becomes apparent. Cute. Benny said, if Muslims were white presenting, it'd be a different group they would go after. Impossible to prove. Somehow you're also 100% correct. White guilt kills. How does white guilt kill? I don't have white guilt. I have white embarrassment. I'm embarrassed by white dudes. If we're just being honest, I don't know why white dudes are so fucking fragile. I don't know why they're so afraid of everybody who's different than them. It's not white guilt. And if it was white guilt, who cares? Guilt's like if you feel guilty about the way that you've treated other people and you want to make amends, that's a good thing. People that say white guilt are like the biggest pussies on earth.
I'm not going to make any improvements, and I'm not going to be accepting because I don't have white guilt.
Okay, cool, dude. That's so cool. It's so cool that you say that.
I'm going to continue to be racist because I don't do white guilt.
Cool. Can you go say this out loud in public? Only on the internet can you say this and people are like, oh, I kind of know what you're saying. Can you just go outside in public and just walk up to people and be like, I don't have white guilt? Within 30 minutes, like half the people you talk to will be like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Or they'll just ignore you. That's an insane thing to say to somebody. I think all people should be able to practice their religion. Oh, this guy just has white guilt. He's self-hating. A good white man hates everybody that's not white. White embarrassment coined the phrase. Yeah, might need to. It is embarrassing. I got a text message this morning about the fucking WNBA from friends that don't watch the WNBA. They're like, can you believe what's happening to Caitlin Clark? And I'm like, nah, but I know what your algorithm's telling you. I bet there's a lot of Clay Travis and Royce White on your algorithm right now. You guys are embarrassing. It is embarrassing, the things that you're afraid of and the things that you focus on. And I want you to be better than that. Proud Atheist said, conservatives believe that freedom is them getting to run the world the way that they want. Yeah, exactly. With no pushback. Damien said, keeping the lights on. Appreciate that, Damien. And guys, just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. I'll update that gift goal in a minute. We rely on your generosity to keep the lights on here. If you can help us out by knocking out that gift goal, that would be greatly appreciated. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, and on TikTok. Thank you, Johnny, Lara Lee, Jen, Plants on the Spectrum, and Kaquita for being the top gifters over on TikTok. You guys are always the greatest. Okay. Let's do this real quick. I just want to talk about Michigan 7th. I'm only showing you this because this ad is so pathetic. And this is like the overwhelming theme today in preparing for the show is I'm legitimately searching up Republicans just all day long. Everybody that's running. And I'm just like, can I find a Republican that's running on something? When I say I can't find one, I mean it. I mean, I can find like a platform. I can find like generically what they say they believe in. But every single Republican interview I've found of someone that's running in the midterms, they're just like socialism bad, Democrats bad. And I know that there's always some element of that in any election cycle, and I know that that's not exclusive to the GOP, but usually there's a mix of both, right? Like, here's what I offer, here's what they offer. And what Republicans essentially are saying is, what we offer is not Democrat, and that's it. So this is a super PAC here that's going after Will Lawrence. Will Lawrence, I believe, won the party nomination in the Michigan 7th district. And I just want you to pay attention to these ads being run against him and how pathetic this is getting. But somehow, and they're either right or wrong. I don't know. I don't live in Michigan. I don't know that demographic very well. Maybe they're right. But if this works on Michigan voters, Michigan's got some problems.
In Michigan's 7th congressional district, swing district, the Democratic nominee, he won on Tuesday night, a guy named Will Lawrence, was the subject of attack ads from a super PAC claiming that he is a Wall Street investor for owning a retirement account worth approximately $11,000. So the crush.
Woo-hoo! Send him to jail. Send that man to jail. Walter, thanks for joining the dollar train. $11,000? How could we have somebody like that in Congress?
MAGA PAC, that's a Democratic PAC, decided to launch a $532,000 ad campaign against Will Lawrence, who is the progressive candidate.
You really know about Will Lawrence. He says he'll stand up to corporate interests, but financial records show he's invested thousands in Wall Street, big oil, and data centers.
That's an $11,000 401k. He's invested thousands with Wall Street, big oil, and data centers. Blind, by the way, your 401k, you're not directing those trades, right? This is somebody else directing your $11,000 401k, which if he rides that out by the time he's 65, that might be worth $25,000.
He says he opposes dark money in politics, but he spent years running a dark money organization himself. And Will Lawrence claims to be a progressive, but he campaigned against Democrats.
We'll get to this, but the dark money organization, just wait till you hear what it is.
And was part of a movement that helped Trump win Michigan. That's the real Will Lawrence. Crush MAGA PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Okay, but here's...
You could have got all that information by listening to Will Lawrence speak, where he's told everybody, he was a protest voter. He barely has a 401k. It's $11,000. And he used to work running a NGO.
The thing, that's totally and completely misleading, right? Will Lawrence was the progressive. He was the lefty. He was not a centrist candidate. He was the progressive. He's the co-founder of the Sunrise Movement, right? He was to the left of his party on many issues, including climate change.
Islam is a cult masked as a religion. All religions are, by definition, cults. So all religions are are cults masked as religions.
The people who paid for that ad think Lawrence is bad and want him to lose precisely because he is too far left and too progressive. They may even have really good faith worries that he would be a weak candidate in the general. And they could have run an ad making that case. But that is not what they did. No. What did they do? Instead, they spent money to make the opposite case, right? To try to trick voters. This guy says he's a progressive, but he has a $11,000 retirement account.
Are you stupid? If he has invested the money, would it still be there? Brother, maybe look up what a 401k is. I think that might help you to ask better questions.
And this isn't a one-off. This is like a pattern. We've seen it repeatedly throughout the primary season. And there was the Democratic primary in New Jersey's 11th congressional district, where Congressman Tom Malinowski, a generally pro-Israel Democrat and a kind of centrist.
I love this. From NGO to politics, why are all Democrat politicians former NGO workers? Name them. Name them. What's wrong with being working for a non-governmental organization?
Was targeted by the United Democracy Project, super PAC affiliated with AIPAC, after he spoke about conditioning U.S. aid to Israel. Again, instead of running ads about that, no.
Why do I think the DNC is broke? Because nobody likes the Democrats because they suck at politics. And outside of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, they're all a fucking joke. They're all bought and paid for by corporate interests and military interests and oil interests and APAC interests. They suck, so nobody likes them. That's why.
No, they accused Malinowski of voting to fund, quote, Trump's deportation force.
The special election to fill Mikey Sherrill's House seat, Tom Malinowski says he'll stand up to Trump. But hold on. In 2019, Tom Malinowski voted with Trump and the Republicans to fund ICE. More than $200 million for Trump's deportation force. $200 million that got us this? Democrats called Malinowski's vote a blank check for the Trump administration and a betrayal. We can't trust Tom Malinowski. UDP is responsible for the content of this ad.
That was a government funding bill he did vote for. But AIPAC didn't care one way or the other about ICE, right? That's not why they were opposing Tom Malinowski. They were opposing him because of his stance on Israel. And AIPAC went huge during this midterm cycle. I mean, New York Times analysis found that the pro-Israel lobbying group has more than doubled.
It's when you know AIPAC's just absolutely cooked, and they know that nobody's on their side anymore.
It's spending on political campaigns, spending $67.2 million in 2026. Much of it spent in Democratic primaries while rarely mentioning Israel. They never tried to.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting how that works out? They go after the people who are against funding Israel, but their ads don't ever talk about Israel. Somebody explain to me how you have a lobby like AIPAC, and the defense of AIPAC is that they don't lobby for Israel. They lobby on behalf of the American Jewish people who are Zionists, and yet when they're out here running ads, it has nothing to do with their stated cause. Pretty deceitful. Sherry said RTP Antifa cult fund. Thank you.
Argue that the candidates' views on Israel are bad. Instead, they try to trick voters by waving around some other issue. The Times also found that between April 2022 and the end of July this year, AIPAC funded 109 TV and digital ads in American elections. And now AIPAC is weighing a second effort to defeat Michigan Democratic Senate candidate Abdul El-Sayed after they already spent at least $32 million boosting Haley Stevens' campaign. The Right Direction Wisconsin Super PAC, which is tied to the Republican Governors Association, has already spent $2.2 million in quote-unquote attack ads against the Democratic candidate in the governor's race, Francesca Hong. They are ostensibly criticizing her for being too liberal in what is very obviously a strategy to grow her appeal among Democratic primary voters. This has been a long-standing trick that people have used, right? The Senator
seems to be backfiring spectacularly. The more they try and scare people of progressives, the more popular progressives are getting, because the progressives are doing the right thing. When they're confronted about their progressive beliefs, they double down on them. When conservatives are confronted about their voting records or their lack of plans, they double down on, but progressives are scary. That's the difference between the two. And for unaffiliated voters, or for people who are tired of being lied to all the time, it's going to be pretty transparent that one of those people is being honest, and I'll take an honest person over a dishonest one at any point. Now, for some of you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we may get single-payer healthcare. You're going to like it, but it's going to be a tough couple of years. It's going to be really fucking confusing for you when 10 years from now you have healthcare. Everybody has healthcare. Somehow it's affordable. Somehow we're paying for it through taxation, and we have more money left over at the end of the month. That's what would happen if you put some of these progressive policies in place. So I'm sorry we're going to make things better for you, and that you'll have to slap that corporate dick out of your mouth. But we're here for you, and this is all for you and for us together. And maybe 10 years from now, we can come together and sing Kumbaya, and you can be thankful for the things that people, like real Americans, fought for, instead of just the consistent capitalism praise and worship that we've seen my entire life. All right, sorry, we're sorry, but we're gonna do this for you, okay?
Bernie Sanders has declined to endorse Hong, though he's endorsed other progressives. Many Democrats in the state and nationally are worried that she may be an easier candidate to defeat against a Republican than her main opponent, David Crowley. That's especially true given that they're going up against a Republican candidate in Congressman Tom Tiffany, who voted to overturn the 2020 election.
Yes, I just said that. Isn't that interesting that the Dems are tied to corporate America? Yep, that's what I just said. Notice how you and I are saying the same thing? That's why I don't like the Democrats. It's difficult for some of you guys to create or to come up with an argument for what I'm saying, right? Because if your argument is simply just that Democrats are bad, I'm going to be like, yeah, most of them are pretty shitty. I agree with you. Bridget said, thank you for your work. Appreciate that. Illusion said, Peggy Flanagan versus Angie Craig in Minnesota is doing a bit better, thankfully. Angie Craig is APAC funded. Just my Minnesota PSA. Thank you very much. And Swift, welcome. Got those. All right. I want to just show you guys this.
In Michigan?
Well, actually, I'll drop that. Tucker Carlson did something kind of weird last week. He kind of teased that he was going to maybe do a third-party run. I'm not sure what his idea is, but I wanted to go over these. I actually haven't read them yet. This is his 10-point vision for the country. I wanted to go over them together. There is obviously division in the Republican Party, and a lot of that comes down to the funding of Israel, and really the funding of wars across the world, and the lack of America first, the total capitulation to big tech and AI and oil companies. And it's ironic enough that like trust fund baby Tucker Carlson is somehow like the working man's voice in the GOP, but I guess like he wears flannel, and that's what you guys are looking for. But here's what he came up with. These are the 10 pillars for a free country, or a free. What did he say? Not a free country. I guess just the vision for the country. Here's what it is. Fair. The same rules should apply to presidents, federal agents, and elites such as Jeffrey Epstein, whose impunity Carlson casts as emblematic of an Epstein class enriching itself through a corrupt system. I agreed. Thumbs up if you agree with that. Thumbs down. This is a tricky one if you're a Trump supporter, because if you agree with this, you're going to have to be like, Trump should probably go to jail for all of his financial crimes. That's a tricky one. I get it. 2, sovereign. Carlson claimed Israel pushed the U.S. into the Iran war through bribery or threat, or both, while describing foreign lobbying, corporate control of government, and high-interest debts as forms of slavery. Woof. Sounding like a socialist. Sounding like a dirty little socialist here. You're an idiot. Democrats are the party of all beliefs about political, economic, religion, etc. I don't know what that means. Productive. America should rebuild farming, manufacturing, and craftsmanship while rejecting an economy dominated by finance, real estate speculation, surveillance systems, and weapons. Again, hate agreeing with Tucker here. It would be nice to know when you go to the grocery store that food was grown locally, or that you know where it's grown. Beautiful. Carlson alleged that urban planners deliberately uglified American cities and portrayed brutalist architecture, graffiti, public drug use, and violent crime as deliberate attacks on the public. That's fucking nonsense. Who cares? Deliberate attacks on the public? He thinks that urban planners used drug use and violent crime as deliberate attacks on the public after uglifying cities with brutalist architecture. That's stupid. I don't even know what that means. What's the hard question, Viper Wolf? I'll look for your hard question. Carlson embraced RFK Jr.'s food agenda, called for universal sobriety, and said widespread use of drugs such as Xanax, Adderall, and SSRIs had left Americans half-addled. I'm not for universal sobriety, but our dependency on drugs and our food, I'm with that. Half. Let's call it half. Honest, government officials should be punished for lying to citizens, and most classified records, including on the JFK assassination and 9/11, should be opened. That is a no-brainer for me. One of the biggest problems I think we have is that our government just progressively has built a reputation that they're allowed to lie to us, and we've all become kind of immune, and we become numb to it. And when the government lies to us, we kind of only care if it's the people we voted for. So I agree with that. I don't know how he plans to implement any of this stuff. Optimistic. Carlson argued that having children is a biological imperative and the foundation of long-term thinking, while blaming aging and childless elites for policies that disregard future generations. I don't know. Make it affordable for people to raise kids and then let them make their own decisions. How about that? And then the government should adjust to the will of the people. It is weird to me. It's uncomfortable for me when I hear people talking about how the government should incentivize having children. I don't think the government really should be involved in that, but you should live in a country where it is not going to ruin your life if you want to have children. Make it easy for people to have children, to get medical care, to raise their children, make sure those children are protected, have a good education. And then I think more people would have children. Our founders were Christian. Prove it wrong. Who cares? Not all of them were Christian. Some of them were Christian. They were certainly Protestants. But that's irrelevant. They specifically, because they were all different religions and they saw themselves that way, they legitimately carved out in the First Amendment protections so that religion wouldn't be part of our government. Just do a little more reading, if you would. Optimistic, Carlson argued that wise schools should teach how the physical world actually works and what he called unchanging facts about human nature, including innate differences between men and women, rather than credential screens and technological fads. This is one of the dumbest parts. Shut the fuck up. Stop worrying about people's genitals all the goddamn time. That's silly. The innate differences. What are the innate differences between men and women that we're talking about? That's crazy because many of the founding fathers quote the Bible and talk about how the Bible is an important influence on our founding documents. And yet they didn't include any of those quotes in our founding documents, right? You and I can come to the same conclusion using a different material, right? Perhaps I was raised Christian, but let's say that I wasn't. Let's say that I was raised atheist. I have friends that were raised atheists. They also believe murder is wrong, but they don't cite the 10 Commandments. They don't cite God as the reason why murder is bad. They just don't think that you should be able to take somebody else's life. It's okay that people are religious. It's okay that a lot of our founding fathers, most of them were religious. Most of them were Christian. But they specifically didn't put that in the writings. Stop trying to add shit that they didn't put in there. There was a reason that they didn't put it in there. That's what they were trying to flee from. They were literally fleeing from oppressive governments who used the religion of the area as a weapon, as a way to control people. These were mostly Protestants, protesters. People who didn't want the government to tell you what to believe. That's why they wrote it in there. You think these people thought we need to escape an oppressive Christian government and come create our own oppressive Christian government? I don't think so. Mighty Milo said, since I'm not MAGA, it's still $1 to make you holler, right, big boy? Oh, and MAGA, drink some water and stop being so thirsty for Trump's dick. That's true. Water's not coming out of that. It's just going to be fish fillet and Diet Coke. You don't want that. Decent. The U.S. should apologize and pay restitution for killing non-combatants, reverse Trump's Department of War, rebrand, and stop funding allies that commit what Carlson called genocide, citing Israel. Agreed. No notes on that one. That sounded pretty fucking progressive to me. United, Carlson calls for halting immigration until the effects of AI become clear, ending benefits for undocumented immigrants, and making English the sole language of federal documents and ballots. Like, there is some, like, if AI is going to destroy jobs, I don't think that we should look, just say, like, we should have unfettered immigration. However, what if the effects of AI were more clear before we allowed AI to take over? What if we didn't just guess? I prefer we just not guess. I prefer we force these AI companies to have a game plan, and then we can plan for the future. But this idea, like, see what AI is going to see what's going to happen with AI, and then we'll determine. And until then, no immigrants. I don't like that idea. Not a big fan of that idea. All right. So that's Tucker. I don't know if you guys liked that or not, Republicans. Seems like it was met with mixed results. All right. Let's get back to Harry Enton here. Remember when we talked about how Hegseth was the most unpopular person in Trump's cabinet? He might not be.
Economy lost 23,000 jobs last month, but
boom. This was the quarter that things were really supposed to be taking off. 23,000 jobs we lost in the economy. We'll get to the spin here in a minute. Kevin Hassett out there trying to spin incoherently. But let's get to some poll numbers of what this means for Donald Trump and the Republicans in these currently as we get ready for the midterms.
The White House chief economist said the economy is booming. What do American voters think about that? With us now, chief data analyst Harry.
You lost 23,000 jobs this month. What do you say? Booming. You projected 100,000. You lost 23,000, and then you were like, yeah, it's actually exactly what we wanted. Leslie said, I just started receiving Social Security. I'm seriously considering moving to Albania. Hopefully this will be my last summer in Arizona. Isn't that, I just saw Vosh is moving somewhere into Europe.
And how do voters feel about the president's work on jobs?
You know, these are the types of numbers that will make a lot of Republican members of Congress lose their jobs come November. You can see it right here. I mean, just look at this trend line. Trump's net approval rating on jobs. He is now 22 points underwater, swimming with the fishes, a very unlucky 22 points. That is way down from where he was at the beginning of term number 2, where he was at plus 9 points. And the whole other thing is this was such a big strength for President Trump in term number 1. He was 10 points above water at this point in term number 1. So we're talking about a 32-point decline in terms of Trump's net approval rating on jobs. It is not just inflation that is hurting Trump when it comes to the economy and the Americans' voters' minds. It is jobs as well.
This is just a huge swing.
This is a
huge swing on a foundational issue.
Yeah.
The war on jobs, President? Yeah.
He ran on. How do people feel in general about the jobs market right now?
Great question, Johnny B. And I think that this really gives the game away. I mean, just look at this. On jobs and employment, we're on the wrong track, the right track. Back at the beginning of Trump's second term, the plurality set on the right track. That ain't the case no more. I'll tell you this much. Look at that. That right track number.
We do this every time. Disgruntled. See this? You're blaming CNN. This is Reuters Ipsos. It's not CNN who's saying it. It's Reuters Ipsos. These are polls. I don't believe it if it has a CNN logo. I think for myself. I'm a common sense guy. If it says CNN, I automatically reject it because common sense.
Has fallen significantly, down 11 points now to 29%. And that wrong track number, which was behind that right track, is now running ahead of it. Look at that number, up nearly 20 points now. The majority of Americans say that the country is on the wrong track when it comes to jobs and employment. No wonder President Trump's numbers are so poor at this point.
And again, this gets to how people feel.
Yes.
You can't tell people how they feel. This is a matter of feelings and sentiment.
This is feelings and
29% are MAGA. Yeah, exactly.
sentiment.
No matter if it's bad, I'm going to say it's good. We actually needed to lose more jobs. I wish we lost 100 million jobs instead. No matter what we do, if Trump is president, we are on the right track.
You know what? That's the name of the game in politics.
How do people feel like getting a job in general right now?
I think what is driving this? What is driving this right track, this wrong track number to rocket on up? Well, I'll tell you what's causing it to rocket on up. Look at this. Okay, good or bad time to find a quality job. You go back just before the beginning of Trump's second term in office, the plurality, 48% said a good time. Now you had 45% saying a bad time, just running slightly behind that good time. But look at this, that bad number, again, up like a rocket. We're talking about 63% at the beginning of Q2 in 2026. And that
Who's our God? Hassan, of course. Hassan Piker is all of our God. You know that.
good number, way down into the basement, now just 33%. It's a 30-point advantage and a bad advantage when it comes to finding a quality job.
And again, you're dealing with sentiment here, how people feel, which is harder to get them to change.
Correct.
Yeah. Maybe Soros. Could be Fauci. Maybe Fauci's our God. I can never keep up with who our God is. But let's talk about those jobs reports, because it's not. Listen, I know we joke about this, and I want to be really clear about this. I fucking hate this. This isn't good. Regardless of your political affiliation, like, this sucks for America. The amount of damage that's being done by this administration and the transfer of wealth between the poor, the middle class, to the 1% of the 1% is going to take decades to undo. This hurts all of us. So we joke we joke about this shit, and we make fun of you because I don't really know like a better way to do it. I show you the data, you say the data is not true. Maybe mockery. I don't know. Maybe I'm not even handling it the right way. But this sucks. This really, really fucking sucks. And perhaps the thing that sucks the most is that the data is unequivocal that things are going poorly. And there's so many people who are like, I'm going to vote to keep this going because I'm afraid of Democrats. I'm afraid of socialists. Not because of any of the policies, right? Like, obviously, you wouldn't vote against single-payer health care because it's not possible. It's because of the principle, right? That's what you're against. You're against the principle. It's cheaper. It's better. It's more effective. Every other country does it, gets better outcomes. But socialism's scary. And that's what's so frustrating about this. Like, we're bleeding jobs, and you're like, if socialists take over, there will be no jobs. Well, what do you think's happening right now? If socialists take over, then we won't have money. You're losing money now. All the money's going in one direction, and it's not yours.
Figures populating.
Why are people losing their jobs? Because all of the money is being consolidated at the top. That's why. And even those that aren't losing their jobs, people are losing their businesses, and then they're going to have to take jobs for these massive corporations who pay them shit and try and replace them with the cheapest labor possible at all times.
Buckle up on this one. Minus 23,000 on non-farm payrolls. I can hear the bond yields falling right now. Minus 23,000. That would be the second worst number of the year, outside of the only other negative number, minus 156 in February. Now, if we look at the 2-month revision, another whopper, minus 103,000. Manufacturing payrolls, actually a bright spot. Manufacturing up 5,000. That would be, the best since it was up 15,000 in March. And that was the high water mark going all the way back to 23. Okay, average hourly earnings, big miss, up 1/10. That's 1/3 of what we were expecting. Up 1/10 will be the lightest reading of the year. It would equal where we were last year in December. To find a lower rate, you're all the way to April of 25 at a goose egg, unchanged. Now let's go year over year earnings. Another miss, 3.2%. That's 0.3 light, and also 0.2 lighter than a revised 3.5 that turned into 3.4 last month. 3.2, obviously the lightest of the year. I have to go in the Wayback Machine to find this one. 3.2 would take me all the way to May of 20.
You see this number here as he's going through all of our economic numbers? Do you see this consistent red? You can look at the stock prices, and you don't need to worry all the time about stock prices. They fluctuate. These are the yields on treasury notes. This is the debt that we're selling. Across the board, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 30-year, people no longer are viewing the American government as trustworthy. The yield is going down on these because people are willing to sell them at a lower yield. They don't trust that they're going to get money back from the government. So now the government, in order to sell more treasuries, is going to have to increase the return that they're going to give on treasury bonds. Because nobody wants to give us money anymore. And we don't have our own money because we don't tax people appropriately. That's a problem. You don't want to see this. And we've been seeing this as a kind of an extended, so what's the word I'm looking for? Let's call it percolating problem. Other countries don't want to buy our debt. Billionaires don't want to buy our debt. Rich people don't want to buy our debt because they're not sure we're going to pay it back. And this is America. That's a problem. We've been considered for a century the kind of people who pay their debt. Now we don't pay our debt anymore. Why? Because we don't want to tax people appropriately. We're just going to keep spending, and we're going to cut taxes, and we're going to drive up that debt and hope that at some point it just all works out. Rochelle wants me to remind MAGA of the Treaty of Tripoli. The Treaty of Tripoli was signed late 1700s. Does anybody know the year when the Treaty of Tripoli was signed? It was an agreement between us and Tripoli to protect ships from pirates. What were the pirates? Does anybody remember the pirates? I can look it up. In the Mediterranean, Barbary pirates. The Treaty of Tripoli is most famous for being Article 11, which states that the U.S. government is officially not founded on the Christian religion. So, just a reminder, we are not a Christian nation. Back to these economic numbers.
21 when it was 2.3.
1797. Thank you. Well done, chat.
This year's low was 3.4. You have to go way back to find a lower number. Now, hours worked, 34.3. That's the first number that came out as expected. On the unemployment rate, 4.1%, and I'm sure that's because of a labor force shrinkage. 4.1%, that would actually be the lightest of the year once.
Unemployment went down, which is good because of the shrinkage of our employment, our labor force, which means people aging out of the labor force. That could be people being deported. That could be people who just stopped looking for a job. Any sort of exceptions of people who are taking out of the labor force. I haven't dug into those numbers. That's the one bright spot, and I suspect that when we look at it and when you factor back in people who just stopped looking for a job, I'm going to guess that number is significantly higher.
Again, that would equal June of last year.
Biden did this. That's true, of course.
You're in January of 25. Now, let's look at the participation rate, and this is 61.4. We're expecting...
That's a good point, too. These listings, most of the listings aren't real. It's just people leave those job listings up forever so that people are always thinking that their companies are hiring. It makes them look better.
61.6. It's 1/10 lighter in the rearview mirror. It's 61.5. It equals where we were in Feb of 21. You're in May of 2020. COVID era to find a smaller number.
All right. Somebody said look at long-term unemployment. In July of 2026, the U.S. long-term unemployment rate, defined as people jobless for 27 weeks or longer, dropped to 1.05, down from 1.14. Long-term unemployed workers account for 25% of all unemployed individuals. Okay, so that dropped as well. That's good. That's a good sign. Of all the bad signs, at least a couple more people have jobs. But what the Republicans and what the Trump administration wants and what they're counting on is that everybody who votes for them is dumb, like Vin. That everybody's going to be like Vin, and they're going to keep accepting the excuse that this is Joe Biden's fault. Literally, Vin just said that. Biden did this. I don't know. I guess we're going to do 4 years of everything's Biden's fault. But they're counting on you to be dumb or willfully ignorant. This is Kevin Hassett smiling like an idiot. I'm going to show a bunch of Kevin Hassett videos today. What I want you to pay attention to, listen to what he actually says and ask yourself, what does that mean? He is really good at using buzzwords, and we're going to break them down. And MAGA, while you're here, you can help us. Tell us what the fuck he means, please.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. What do you make of the new numbers as it relates to the Labor Department's employment numbers, some negative growth as it relates to employment?
Right. Well, first of all, the momentum in the economy continues to be strong. We see, durable goods orders, capital spending through the roof. People aren't being laid off. Initial claims for unemployment insurance.
Durable goods are more expensive, so that's why that number goes up. Capital spending is these AI companies using circular financing. I would say like 90, it's hard to get the exact number, but like 90% of the capital being pushed into these AI companies is circular financing. What circular financing is these companies just saying like, I'm going to give you $100 million. I promise to give you $100 million. And then they give that to NVIDIA. And then NVIDIA goes to Intel and says, we're going to give you $100 million. And then Intel comes back to Microsoft and says, we're going to give you $100 million. And they just circulate that fake money. It never goes anywhere. So if you want to talk about capital investment, we've got to start looking at like investment secured. And seeing if it is moving in a circular motion. I would say that based on what I've seen out of these tech companies, it's 60 to 90%, depending on how generous you want to be, circular funding.
It's about the lowest.
Don't forget snow day. Snow days, that's right. I forgot about snow days.
They've had since World War II. And so when you see a number like that, it seems like it's dissonant with everything else that we're seeing. When we dug into the numbers, we saw that there are really two special factors. One is there was a big decline in government employment. Which is partly because of DOGE and partly because there was so much snow over the winter that there were extra school days at the end of the year. And so the normal time when teachers would take the summer off was June, but a lot of them got pushed into July.
Okay, so all of these people don't have jobs. Now, I don't know. Do they do this with teachers? Are teachers counted on the unemployment numbers while they're on summer vacation? I was unaware of this, if that's true. I didn't fact check that. Can we look that up? All right, let's see. I see a lot of people saying no, but let's double check that. I'm gonna pull that up while this is playing.
And so then they show up as a layoff in July. And the end of the World Cup meant that a lot of hospitality workers were then laid off after the World Cup ended. If you take those two effects out, it was about 100,000 job number, which is about consistent with what we...
If you take all the people out who lost their jobs, then the jobs numbers were actually pretty good. It says usually no, teachers are generally not counted as unemployed over the summer if they remain employed by the school district and have a reasonable assurance of returning in the fall. Summer break is normally treated as a scheduled recess, not a job separation. So for unemployment insurance purposes, a teacher don't need to worry about that. For unemployment statistics, the key issue is whether they are actively seeking and available for other work. A teacher simply on scheduled summer recess with a fall job awaiting them generally would not be classified as unemployed. So I don't know where he pulled those numbers from. That doesn't seem to be correct. And the source there is from the Department of Labor, which is where he would be getting those numbers. So, yeah.
Expected at the market expected 88,000.
So you see it as an aberration more than anything, this number?
Yeah, and of course at the end the proof will be in the number that we get next month, and so if you were to get a sequence of numbers like this, then
yes, teachers are on unemployment during the summer unless they put some of their check into the fund. That's what teachers have told me. Your teacher friends are lying. My mom's been a school teacher. My mom was a school teacher for 40 years. It's not true. They do not go on unemployment. I do know that depending on where you live, like some teachers can get paid out over 9 months instead of 12, or you can get paid out over 12. I know that in Utah, you could get paid out over 9 months instead of 12, but it's still, again, I just read it to you, Starla. Starla's like, teacher friends have told me. The Department of Labor's like, no, we don't count those. But Starla's like, I had a friend once. No, they're not counted according to the Department of Labor.
There's not going to be special factors every month, but our expectation is that everything else, which is saying that we're booming, is more consistent with the decline in the unemployment rate that we saw than in the payroll number.
My mom gets paid during the summer from school. My mom did too, but I know in Utah there was an option you could get paid over 9 months instead of, or however many months you're in school. I get roughly 9, yeah. All right. So Hassett thinks we're all dumb. I guess some of you fell for it. Here, if you want to look at this, if you just step back and you look at the July jobs reports, it's bad. July job report, it's bad. It's minus 23,000. But you can go from COVID, basically. There's obviously a bunch of job growth over here. This is as we were coming back from COVID, so you're going to see increased numbers. But then it pretty much it leveled out. And here's what you saw from the Biden administration post-COVID. You saw pretty decent growth here. Not bad. And then you have Trump. This is abysmal. If cutting taxes and the big, beautiful bill was supposed to create jobs, how come it didn't create jobs? You cannot look at this graph and say that on the far right over here, this is when things are at their best. This is the economy that Donald Trump keeps telling us is the greatest in American history. Somebody want to defend that? It's one thing to say, like, it's one thing to blame him. It's one thing to blame the Republicans. It's another thing entirely to allow them to continue to lie. Like, this is bleak. This is like historically bad. And Donald Trump steps in front of a microphone every day and says it's the greatest economy in the history of the world. His cabinet repeats it. And you guys keep going, yeah, I'm going to vote for this again. Why? Socialism bad. Well, you guys told us that Biden was a socialist. Seems like it was going better under Joe Biden. There's no way to look at this and say, like, things are going well. CNBC brought this to Kevin Hassett's attention here. Some polling numbers that we looked at earlier that Americans feel that there's a problem with inflation and they feel costs are going up. Something like 70-something% of Americans feel that way. This administration would like you to know that what you think is always wrong. And even though your prices are up, they're actually down.
The core year on year is 2.6%. And if you look at it that way, and I guess it's all matter how you look at the data, you could say that you could make the case that that shows that there's persistent underlying inflation. And for the average American out there, I mean, polling indicates that they feel an inflation problem, that they are feeling the costs go up in housing and medical expenses, dining out in the last CPI report. I mean, how do you address that? I mean, you can point to all the numbers you want in the economic data. I don't know if it's a perception problem, but that's what they're feeling out there.
Right. Well, absolutely. You know, we understand what people are feeling, and in part, it came
good. They understand. That's great news, guys. They understand. They've got something to. He's got something to fix it.
about because of the runaway inflation under Joe Biden. Inflation has decelerated a lot, but it's, you know, still, if you look at the latest numbers, we're back where we want it.
It has not. It has decelerated under Biden after record high, and now it's accelerated. I swear to God, it's August of 2026. Trump took office in January 2025, and this is still Joe Biden's fault. Somehow the numbers were better when Joe Biden was in office than they are now, and it's his fault.
If you look at the 12-month number, we've still got some progress to make. But again,
so I wanted to go back to that too and look at this. Here's where the jobs are at. Construction. We're not building a ton of housing. A lot of this is probably like data centers, infrastructure stuff. Manufacturing up 5K. Look what's way down though. Retail, leisure, hospitality. Nobody's coming to our country anymore. Nobody's traveling. Getting rid of money, jobs for local education. This is especially prevalent in places like Arizona and Oklahoma, where it's like, yeah, fuck school teachers. They're all just commies anyways. Construction is seasonal. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, in some places it can be year round. Like I live in Arizona, it's year round. But yeah, it's seasonal and it's contractual, right? You don't always have contracts for it. All right, I want to talk about Texas a little bit because Texas is a really unique place currently. Texas, it's very hard to win as a progressive in Texas, and Talarico is incredible at towing the line between like looking like a Christian conservative but talking like a progressive. And our boy over here, Jesse Waters, had an absolute meltdown at Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton went on vacation with his mistress. Then he came back and did a couple of campaign events, which I'll show you a couple clips from those that went poorly. But mostly he's just disappeared. Ken Paxton just assumes he can show up with Trump's endorsement and win Texas. And Jesse Waters is starting to panic.
And Paxton should be doing that. Where's Paxton? I've seen Mitch McConnell more than Paxton. McConnell's been in the hospital all summer. Get out of your hole, Paxton, and do something. I can't win this race for you. It's not
a little insight into Fox News there that they see themselves as winning races for Republicans, by the way. I do like that. They're not even hiding it. They're just like, we're the Republican channel.
On Fox, go raise some money, do a hit, and lay the lumber to this guy. I mean, he's younger and he's got a little energy and he's new or whatever. But come on, if you lose this seat for Republicans in Texas, you should seek asylum in Mexico. This cannot happen. I agree.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to take him. And things are not going well. This is a former Republican judge in, I forgot what county. I forgot to write down what county. Now talking about will he vote for is he going to endorse Paxton or is he going to endorse Talarico? Just a reminder, guys, we are a crowdfunder. We're way off on our gift goal, and we've only got about an hour and 15 minutes left. If you want to help us knock out the remaining balance of that gift goal, I know we've been inconsistent, and I apologize for that, but this is how we keep the lights on. So Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chats are the way to go. If you haven't donated in a while and you have the ability to, that would be greatly appreciated. Here again, though, is retired Republican County Judge Glenn Whiteley.
But I'm going to have to tell you right now, as
Tarrant County, you think? Is that how you say it, Tarrant? Thank you.
A Texan, I am ashamed of the fact that Ken Paxton is even on the ballot.
And you should be. If you're a Republican, you should be ashamed that Ken Paxton is on the ballot. You should be ashamed as a Texan that somehow all it took was Donald Trump saying vote for Paxton to bring in an actual criminal over John Cornyn, who I'm not a fan of. But John Cornyn, by all measures, compared to Paxton, seems to be like a decent human. And you said, nah, Donald told us to vote for the criminal. Again, this is a man who was impeached by his own party. The Republican House in Texas impeached Ken Paxton. The Senate refused to remove him, but his own party said, yeah, dude, you're a criminal.
I believe him to be the most corrupt politician that Texas has ever seen. I picked up the paper this morning and read it, and I saw that in Allen last night he said, I'm excited to educate people about my record over the last 20-something years. Well, let me help him. He has avoided trial on securities fraud charges. He agreed to pay whistleblowers.
Texas is way too smart for Talarico. Listen, Texas is too smart for whatever the next word is. It should never be a sentence that's uttered ever.
To resolve claims that they had. He was impeached by the members of his own party on allegations of bribery and abuse of office.
Thanks, Denise, for joining the Dollar Train.
His divorce proceedings have also received widespread publicity. Somehow he has managed to become a multi-millionaire while serving in public office. Now, he reportedly owns, I think, some 15 homes across this state and this country. No wonder he can't figure out where to vote.
He's so corrupt. Communists don't believe in religion, but Islam does. Why are the Islamists supporting the left? It just does not make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Probably because nobody on the left that's running for office is a communist. Your answer is in your own question there, my friend. There aren't any communists running. You're just being scared.
Finally, if character, if integrity, and if accountability matters to you, and if having someone who will work for Texas and not for himself, then we must elect James Talarico in November.
He's leading now. And obviously Republicans are afraid of that. I think that, I don't know what the odds are. I still think it's going to be hard to say that a Democrat's going to win Texas, but it's getting closer and closer every election. Denise, again, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Andreas, thank you very much. And IMFRCD, thank you as well. Appreciate you guys. Ken Paxton went out on the campaign trail, and perhaps this is why he's not campaigning. If I were Ken Paxton, I would refrain from ever citing the Bible ever. Because if you're going to cite the Bible all the time and you're just going to do it to demean LGBTQ people, people might throw it in your face for all the laws and violations of the 10 Commandments that you have engaged in.
He also said that you cannot be a Christian and support the oil and gas industry. Now, I think that's in Leviticus, I think. If you can help me with it, I'm still not looking, but that's where I'm guessing. And then, of course, he's been
If you missed that, that was you cheated on your wife, which, again, if you did that and you're running, perhaps you shouldn't be citing the Bible all the time. Perhaps you should leave the Bible at home. Otherwise, shit like this is going to continue to happen. And now I want you to check out the crowd and how upset all these good Christian conservatives get when they point out something that everybody knows is true. Specifically, I want you to look at this boomer sooner running through here. Look at how mad he is. Oh, he brought his best visor. He's got the chest meat hanging out, and he doesn't want you guys criticizing this good Christian man. And then they chant USA. You can't make it up. This man says something true. Conservatives don't want to hear it, so they chant USA. We love our country. We love our country. Which part am I watching there? None. I said boomer sooner. He looks like Bob Stoops. Yeah, thank you, Logical Monkey. Didn't that guy look like Bob Stoops? It was kind of a niche reference. Yeah, it's not a cult, though. Axe said, was listening for most of the live. Thanks, as always. I probably misspoke. You were right. Construction is contractual. Summertime in Florida is always busy. Winter's always slow for some reason. I don't know much about Florida. I don't know how cold it gets there. I live in Arizona, so it's just always sunny. So I think like my state's an outlier, probably more than yours. I'd imagine if you live in Minnesota, Michigan, most states that have real winter, that it's probably slow in the winter. I know it was for my dad. Poon Snot, Jesus, said Texans should vote for Thomas Smith. Who is Thomas Smith? I don't know who Thomas Smith is. Enrique Alvarado said for the law of the title or flag. I don't know what that means either. Who's Thomas Smith? A judge? Court of Criminal Appeals judge? They might have met Joseph Smith? I don't know. I hadn't heard the name. There's somebody named Thomas Smith who's running this guy. Is this who you're talking about? Candidate for Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. Maybe, are you Thomas? Who sent that? Poon Snot. Should we vote for him? Let's see. What's he done? Son of a school teacher, oil gas driller, yada, yada, yada. Graduated from University of Akron. Go Flyers. Musician, member of a Highland Methodist Church. I don't know much about him. Counting down to, okay, is he a Republican? I'd say don't vote for him. I would say maybe don't. I'm opposed to him just because he's Republican for now. I didn't see anything else. All right. I was looking at who said that now he's a master negotiator. You think he could turn that off in marriage? Who are you talking about? Trump? All right. I want you to listen to these parents in Florida, because the problem with Republicans and doing the bidding incessantly for the billionaire class is that people are starting to figure it out. In Florida, it's a real problem right now for Byron Donalds. He still should probably win the governorship, but you have the current governor basically pointing out that he's a fraudster. The current governor is a fraudster, and now the people of Florida who would be voting for him also now think he's a fraudster. Let's listen to some Florida voters talk about their concerns with Byron Donalds, who through his wife has been funneling Medicaid money into super PACs. Yeah, well, and the sex trafficking thing, that's a crazy accusation I saw last night. I haven't dug into it yet, but we're going to.
Put my child in this school now.
Kathleen Satola walked us up to what was supposed to be Optima Classical Academy in Fort Myers.
Empty.
279.
Thank you, Amy, for the Antifa dues.
9 students enrolled for the 2024 school year, including Satola's 9-year-old grandson, Landon. She is his legal guardian.
Regarding gender and race, I want him to be able to make up his own mind.
You felt that.
Vote Gina Hinojosa. Get I'm not saying that. Get Abbott out.
That Optima would be less woke.
Yes.
But in May of 2024, Satola received this email saying Optima would not open as planned. It cited economic challenges and lingering instability from Hurricane Ian 2 years earlier. What was going through your mind?
What am I going to do? I had told the current school he wasn't coming back. Where was I going to put my child?
That email came from Erica Donalds, Optima's chief executive.
My biggest success in business is providing the education.
My biggest success in business is marrying Byron Donalds, and now we funnel all this money illegally through my organization. Phil said, it's been a while. Good show today. Thanks, Phil. Sorry about that. Chris said Antifa plus late fee. Chris for the $55 on Venmo. Rachel, thank you for the dollar train. Lee, $50 on Venmo as well. Said, never mind Jen crying. I'm crying at the amount left in the goal. Sending help. Pink said, I upgraded to therapy every other week instead of weekly. Therapy works, y'all. Agreed. Let's all go to therapy. I got to call my therapist tomorrow. Make an appointment. Phil said, it's been a while. Good show today. Thank you, Phil.
Education options that I dreamed of for other families.
Donalds, a leading voice for school choice, is the wife of Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. He's the Republican frontrunner in next year's Florida's gubernatorial race.
I knew.
Chris, he said I won the lottery, so I'll give you half. Thank you for the half of your $8 lottery winnings. Thank you.
There were so many families out there that were desperate for this option.
Before the school in Fort Myers, she had launched 4 other classical charter schools across Florida. Our CBS News investigation looked into the tax filings for those 4 Optima-run schools. Between 2020 and 2023, they paid roughly 30% of the government funding they received, totaling about $35 million to outside firms that Optima said offered good prices on payroll, IT, and other back-office services. It was eventually disclosed Eric O'Donnell's held a stake in 2 of those firms, each worth more than $1 million.
It is absolutely problematic, but it is not atypical.
For this industry?
For this industry, no.
Professor Bruce Baker studies charter schools at the University of Miami. He told us nationally, charter schools generally provide far fewer details about how they spend tax.
There's a massive house going in, like, just on the other side of the freeway where I'm at. And I know the guy building it, and I asked him what the people do, and they run charter schools. It's like a $6 million house. Nobody should make $6 million off of government money for charter schools.
Payer money than traditional public schools.
It's not easy at all to follow the money.
So is there any accountability?
Presumptively, the accountability is on how well they do for students.
Baker looked at Optima's student performance and found below-average test results in math and reading.
Florida's
Guys, sorry, I'll be right back. I'm just missing my gum and I'm getting dry mouth, so I'll be right back while this plays.
Charter sector is not strong, and Optima schools, at least the 4 schools that seem to be in that affiliated mix, perform even less well.
According to the former principal at this Optima-run school, students excelled. And while a 2023 audit praised outstanding financial health, some faculty complained Optima operated more like a franchising corporation and was dedicated to profit, sometimes to the detriment of the school itself. Concerns Optima pledged to address.
I wanted to find an alternative, so I was really excited. Everybody was excited about it. 3.
For the past 2 years, Brianna Hatley tried to enroll her 8-year-old daughter Bella in Optima Academy in Fort Myers, the school that never opened its doors.
These are our kids, they're our world. So if you're gonna have a school, if you're gonna offer services, then offer them. If you're not, then just leave us alone.
Eric O'Donnell's declined an interview. In a statement, a spokesperson said she is an accomplished businesswoman with a strong record of starting successful charter schools and providing thousands of students with an excellent education.
I feel cheated, and these kids were cheated. It's heartbreaking.
Since the Fort Myers school never opened, it never collected any public money. But in a charter school system with limited public accountability, Kathleen Satola's Optima experience left her with questions.
They just dropped the ball and ran. How can you do something like this and sell this to parents who really want to stay
I
involved?
think it's a really good point. The looting's become accelerated. At some point, it'll hit a wall. Yeah, I mean, these Republicans in Congress, they know what's coming. They know that, like, the days of just being able to loot the coffers are almost over, and they're all just out here trying to make as much money as they can before the laws are changed. I agree with you.
With their children and then just walk away.
Donald's management company no longer operates any of those original Optima schools. A source close to her told us...
Quote Fishback. Yeah, guys, if you hate Byron Donalds, but you love Nazis, you're going to love James Fishback.
Optima partnered with these schools in their early years until they reached full stability. There seems little chance Optima Academy will ever open at that Fort Myers location. Back in October, the county school board approved the transfer of the building to another charter school company. Nate?
Who wants to guess that those will be linked? Anybody want to take any bets that those two are linked? I bet they're linked.
All right, Mark, thank you.
All right. Dude, I think maybe the worst part about Byron Donalds is that he's exceptionally stupid and he doesn't say anything. And somehow, like, he's just kind of like waited his turn and now he's just that guy. And Byron Donalds has become the guy next up in Florida simply by just like kissing Donald Trump's ass. He is so unremarkable as a politician, as a human. He is as scummy as they come when it comes to politicians. Do you remember, what was it that we played his video of him not answering a question forever? And we were all dying. I can't remember what it was. What was the video we kept watching of Byron Donalds? He was outside. It might have been about the Epstein stuff. I can't remember. It was outside of Congress, and he kept like he held a press conference, and he's like, all these people are just seeking attention, and then he just wouldn't stop calling these impromptu press conferences out on the stairs of Congress. I don't remember exactly what case that was. Jamar said, I have something for that dry mouth. God damn, Jamar. Thank you. Fucking Jamar. I wasn't ready for that. How about this? Finally, a Republican was forced out. You would think that it would be Max Miller, who we're going to cover in a minute. You'd think it might be Byron Donalds. You think it might be Donald Trump. It might be Pete Hegseth. It's somebody you've probably not heard much about. Chuck Edwards here.
Carolina Republican Congressman Chuck Edwards, who, while you were sleeping in the dead of night at 3:32 a.m. Eastern, announced on social media, quote, after much prayer and reflection, I've decided to withdraw from my re-election campaign. I will complete my current term. A Twitter post that made no mention of the...
I didn't know that was Chuck Edwards. To be honest, I've seen him a bunch of times. I didn't know that's who that was.
House ethics investigation into Edwards that concluded on Monday with a report that found Congressman Edwards created or fostered a, quote, hostile work environment by failing to adhere to the spirit of rules prohibiting sexual harassment of and unwanted advances to House staffers.
It seems like that's all of them. This also feels like it's read directly from every lawsuit Elon Musk has ever had.
He did so, the report said, with, quote, persistent, unprofessional, and inappropriate conduct towards 2 young female staffers in his office. The current and former staff members in Edwards' office who spoke.
Let me say something before I make fun of this guy. Okay. If you are in a position of power, like Edwards is here, you should never use that position of power to flirt with people who are subordinate to you, ever. You shouldn't make advances on them. It creates a power dynamic where consent is at best questionable. And 1, it's unethical to do it. But 2, if you are that person, perhaps you should understand that and recognize that it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. Now that I've said that, and that should be the rules across the board. If you're in a position of power, you should not abuse that power by trying to advancing on people who are subordinate to you. That being said, you should also not ever hit on somebody younger than you when you look like Chuck fucking Edwards. That's the other part. I wanted it to be clear that I'm against this at all times, but the audacity for this ugly motherfucker with that fucking comb over to think that he can hit on somebody else is astounding. Don't hit on somebody if you look like that, ever. I'm assuming he's married. Stay home. Did he bleach it? Is this bleached too? I know we're using Just for Men in the Fu Manchu there. But I just wanted that to be clear. It's always wrong. But it's also always wrong if you look like Chuck Edwards.
Spoke to the committee saying,
finally we agree on something. Thank you.
Felt these 2 women were treated differently while creating an environment where they and their colleagues were uncomfortable. Edwards showered them with
G3 Aero Images. Damn, that's the East Coast, West Coast comb over. Iowa's right here. There's Nebraska, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada. And here we are to California over here. Yes, high tea, leave him alone. Is this the guy that was talking about low T the other day? Was that him?
Gifts, designer purses, jewelry, guns, a robotic vacuum, a KitchenAid mixer. In interviews with the committee, the women named specific interactions with Edwards that in their view went beyond the pale, invites to private dinners, late night.
Oh, I want to say one other thing regarding this. Those women who were subjected to his advances deserve better. I'm also glad they got gifts. And I hope they milked it for all that it was worth before this ethics probe. I hope they got so much money out of him. That's great.
And in one case, a conversation about strip joints in Washington, D.C. The congressman had brought one woman on a trip to New York City for a political event where they stayed an extra day for his birthday, quote, for which he had planned a helicopter ride, dinner, and a Broadway show, unquote. The congressman brought the same woman to a White House holiday party and asked her which flowers she preferred. She said she was, quote, okay without flowers, thank you. He proceeded to buy her flowers.
That's tough. That's tough. Read the room, brother. What are your favorite flowers? Please don't give me flowers. Didn't stop him.
Anyway, the congressman was apparently having quite the holiday season. Just a few days later, he offered in a text message to his second female staffer to, quote, skip votes to help her decorate her Christmas tree, to give him, quote, the opportunity to spend a little more time with her.
Why is this formatted in this way? This is so gross. Good morning! Exclamation point. I'm really excited to work on your lawn and set up your Christmas tree tomorrow. Here's another offer I hope you'll take me up on, unless, of course, you've made other arrangements. What if I skip votes and help you decorate your tree once you get home tomorrow? I don't want to overstay my welcome, but this might help you enjoy your tree being fully decorated a little longer and give me the opportunity to spend a little more time with you. But of course, I'm okay if you're planning a time with other friends to decorate. I would love to decorate the tree with you, but are you sure about skipping votes? We could plan. Hey, dude, you're a member of Congress. What? Are you sure that the people who voted you into office would be okay with you skipping votes to help me decorate my tree?
That staffer told the committee that the congressman arranged for a singer to serenade her at a birthday party with an Ed Sheeran song.
One other thing to point out here, the amount of conservative Republican members of Congress who have sexually abused, physically abused, and broken laws who are still in office, and then this ethics committee or this ethics complaint gets somebody fired is wild to me. He's bad at flirting, like historically bad at flirting. And yeah, he's pushing himself on these women, and he absolutely should step down and absolutely should lose his job. But how the fuck did this guy get pushed out? But Trump's good, Matt Gaetz is all good, Corey Mills is all good, Max Miller's all good. But this is the one they finally push out?
Leading her to tell a friend she didn't think the congressman saw her as just a daughter figure and that she was, quote, scared, low-key.
It's a member of Congress. Rejecting those advances. What if you're somebody that wants to work on Capitol Hill for a long time? What if you're not afraid that Chuck Edwards might smear you to everybody else if you turn him down?
The Ethics Committee also points out that its investigation was not the first time the women's concerns had been brought to him. A senior staffer testified that she had spoken to the congressman about his behavior on behalf of both of the women back in May 2025, after which the committee received evidence the congressman began blaming other staffers for getting in the way of his relationships with the two women. The congressman had also deleted many of the messages that the committee says were sent.
I love her. I forget what her name is. She's a stand-up comedian. Does anybody remember what her name is? She's great.
Central to its investigation, although he had voluntarily produced others.
Oh, no, that's just her haircut. My bad.
For example, the congressman was not able to provide his version of this photograph of the 30 pints of ice cream he sent to one of the female staffers' homes one night. Quote,
30? No. What are you going to do with 30 pints of ice cream? You better have one of those garage freezers. That's a lot of ice cream. Having a little something dropped off for you that I once heard might help cheer one up. I hope it helps. Oh, that's so kind of you. You don't have to do that. Thank you. 30 pints of ice cream. Some whipped cream there. Thank you, but this seems a bit excessive. You have a garage freezer, so you're in contact Chuck Edwards. You looked like you needed a lot of cheering up. Brother, you're gonna give this person diabetes. My heart was breaking seeing you like that. This definitely helped. Thank you again. That's excessive. That's a lot, though.
A little
cheap ass could have sent 31.
Little something.
Diabetes, sorry, not diabetes. Diabetes.
That I once heard might help cheer one up, unquote. Congressman denies his
2
behavior.
quarts of Anderson, I'm liable to do anything for you. Some of you this would have worked on. Some of you like, fuck it, yeah, I'm in.
Was intended as sexual or romantic advances, according to the report, which also found no evidence that he'd actually engaged in sexual activity with either of the women.
I believe that. I believe that part. I believe that he never did engage in sexual activity, and I have this sneaking suspicion it wasn't his choice to not engage in sexual activity.
Spokesman for Edwards' campaign says the committee's finding, quote, completely exonerate Representative Edwards under the House rules governing sexual misconduct or harassment, unquote, and that its conclusion showed the congressman, quote, did not violate federal sexual harassment law, unquote, as a result of his actions, which led to both of these women ultimately choosing to end their careers in the House. The committee is now recommending the congressman be censured.
That's right, OCD. OCD said, you didn't read my comment the other day, but it might fit in now. Can you explain why Mormons think black people's skin is dark? I apologize for that. I do remember. I remember when you sent it. It was at a time where I felt it was going to be really inappropriate to segue, and then I completely forgot. So by request, the Mormons believe. So the Mormons read something called the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon is an ancient record that allegedly was written on plates of gold, and by like a book with like gold pages, and it was brass plates first, then it became gold plates. Anyways, there were some people that were in Jerusalem, and the Lord was going to destroy Jerusalem, so they went to Lehi, who was a prophet at the time. God went to him. Lehi had a family, and he said, hey, dude, I'm about to fucking destroy Jerusalem. You should get out of here. And he's like, oh, word? And God was like, word. It's a very progressive book, the Book of Mormon. And so Lehi and his family built boats. They were egg-shaped boats, and they just floated apparently across the Atlantic Ocean. They were, I don't know, like capsules. And they just floated across, and their entire family came across on these egg boats over to Central America. The Mormons say that the ancestors of these people became what they wrote in the first Book of Mormon, the American Indians, which have been indigenous people here. But all these white Jewish people came over from Jerusalem to Central America, and they settled Central America. There were no other people there. They were settled there. And then one of the brothers named Laman, he was the oldest brother. He rebelled against Lehi, and he's like, I don't know about that God guy. And Nephi, who was the youngest, or either the youngest or second youngest brother, now I can't remember. There was Sam, too. I feel like Sam might have been younger. Anyways, Nephi was like, nah, dude, the Lord's cool as hell. We got to listen to him. And Laman's like, nah, dude, he's lame as hell. And he's like, yeah, right, dude. And so they got in a fight, and Laman and all his family were like, we're getting out of here. We're going to start our own village. And Nephi was like, you better not. And he's like, I'm going to do it anyways. And turns out God was super pissed about that. And God was like, fuck you, Laman, and all your family. I'm going to call you Lamanites now, and I'm going to change your skin from white and delightsome to dark. And that's how we believe that indigenous people have dark skin, and that's what Mormons believe is the cause of all darker skin, is that those were all curses by God. So there you go. Nephi reminds me of Lori Daybell. Oh, that's not nice. That's a good point, though. Nephi did kill a guy, chopped a dude's head off in the name of the Lord, and Lori killed her own kids and her husband in the name of the Lord. So I guess that's fair. Actually, to tell you a story about that, I was talking to my friend who Lori Daybell tried to kill. I don't know if you guys all know that story. Now, those of you who've been around know that I was kind of involved in that case. One of my best friends, they tried to kill him. And I was talking to him about like my own custody stuff, and he was like, man, that's crazy. I don't know how you deal with that. And I was like, bro, your ex-wife tried to kill you. What are you talking about? You don't know how I deal with this. Like, it could certainly be much worse. Your ex-wife and her aunt tried to have you murdered. He's like, yeah, that's a good point. So that's a fun story from this weekend. But there you go, OCD. Thank you. I apologize for not doing that the other day. I owe you. We should go to lunch sometime. I'm pretty sure you live here. We should do that. Okay. Let's move on to Max Miller real quick. How much time we got? About 40 minutes left. Thank you guys so much for helping us knock out this gift goal. We're about there. 40 minutes left. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App are the way to go, as well as Super Chats. I'll read anything that you send. But let's get to Max Miller. And there's a growing number of Republicans now who are coming out on the record asking for Max Miller to step down. CNN went Fox, excuse me. I believe, or is Fox Reports his name? Fox Reports might be his name. It was CNN. Went out to Ohio to talk to Republican voters about Max Miller and whether or not he should resign.
There's a growing number of Republicans calling for Republican Congressman Max Miller to go. This amid allegations which he denies that he abused his ex-wife, Emily Marino, and their daughter. Emily's father is Republican Senator Bernie Marino, who told CNN he sent his daughter and granddaughter out of state to a secure place until they feel safe to return home. Tonight, Ohio's other senator, Republican John Husted, saying Miller should resign, saying, I believe Max would be making the right decision to step aside as a candidate and resign from Congress to focus on what is in the best.
If you don't remember, Max Miller's wife has accused him of pouring hot water on her hand, holding a gun to her head, breaking their child's collarbone. Bernie Moreno has said that he does crazy shit like withholding his child's favorite stuffed animal. Bernie told a pretty tough story about his granddaughter crying for 2 straight nights. Max Miller, every time I see him, I'm more and more convinced that he is straight up evil. And trigger warning to everybody here, there's going to be a bunch of asshole men who come to defend Max Miller here. So if you may want to head to like Twitch or something if you want to avoid those douchebags.
Interest of his daughter. Republican Senator Tim Sheehy also saying, quote, this guy is clearly a degenerate sociopath. Max should step aside and see.
That's a lot for a Tim Sheehy to say. It wasn't Tim Sheehy like Mr. Stolen Valor. Am I wrong about that? Didn't Tim Sheehy lie about like his military service?
Help. So that makes it.
I do think Max Miller is significantly worse, but a lot of these folks are sociopaths.
At least 6 Republican senators calling on Miller to step aside due to these allegations.
Literally the bare minimum. We have Katie Britt now. Good for her, finding her own voice. John, is it Husted? Is that how you say it? Roger Marshall, Bernie Moreno, Tim Sheehy, and Shelley Capito.
What do the voters in Miller's own district think? Lauren Fox is out front.
Just south of Cleveland, Medina opens its gates for another summer fair, where livestock and other local exhibits are sharing space with some uneasy politics. Voters here have a difficult decision to make in the months ahead.
It's tough. It's tough right now.
That is a actual Republican voter right there. That is every Republican argument I've ever heard encapsulated into one noise. I believe this is. I believe they got this talking point from Andrew Wilson.
It's tough. It's tough right now.
Makes more sense than you do, Frank. What that Republican voter just said makes more sense than anything you've ever typed in this chat, ever. No, listen. You know how we know this is a. You know how we know this is a Republican chicken? Look at that hair. That's 100% a Republican chicken. That is a Tuscaloosa blowout, is what we call that. They got the blowout done and then headed straight to the Waffle House next door. That is Tuscaloosa's finest.
Is a county that Republican Congressman Max Miller won in 2024 with more than 58% of the vote. But Republican voters like Amy Smoyer are now conflicted about what to do in November.
I want to know the facts, and hopefully we can hear the facts before voting comes up.
Torn between voting for a congressman she says has stood in the right place on the issues, while weighing serious allegations of abuse leveled against him by his ex-wife, Emily Marino.
That's a Polish chicken? My bad. I'm sorry. I didn't know that was a Polish chicken. I apologize to the Poles and the chickens and the Polish chickens. And the great women of Tuscaloosa.
Daughter of Ohio senior senator.
So being a woman especially, you don't want to see somebody that is being abused, and you don't want to have somebody who is an abuser be in that spot where he is at.
Miller has denied the allegations and says he's staying in the race. Voters here say they hope to get more clarity in the months ahead before the election.
I haven't seen any actual facts or video or anything that would support her allegations, but I don't want to say that she's lying, And I also, we support.
That is everybody's response when they don't want to believe something. Just be honest. Like, it's always, oh, I've seen no evidence. Where do you get the evidence? Where you people just going to record everything that they do? You need a video of it? Whenever it's somebody that they want to vote for, I don't really want to judge. Well, you think this many people have kept this up for this long? Something's there.
Marino. So it's really kind of a challenging situation.
Martin Kerr, a local lawyer who's volunteering this week at the fair, says he's already made up his mind.
I think running for Congress while you're being accused of this stuff, no, man. Just set it down. If you're really innocent, then be innocent. Take a few years off. You can afford it, as you can afford all the attorneys for your divorce and everything else. Take a couple years off and come back if you're truly innocent. If not, well, then deal with it and go get a real job.
Brian Gunkelman, a fifth-generation dairy farmer, says he's sticking with Miller, at least for now.
That chicken is Phyllis Diller. That's no. That's not nice.
I just feel like he's voted for some farm stuff that's helped us out over the years. You know, Democrats tend to not pay attention to what we need as much as farmers.
Oh, yeah? Somebody got to talk to that dude. Bitch, you live in Ohio. You live in fucking Ohio. It's not the Democrats that are doing that to you. I don't think it was Democrats putting tariffs. Is that Democrats? I don't think so. That's crazy. He's voted. You mean he voted for bailouts? After they fucked you over, he voted for bailouts. That's what you actually meant, right?
Miller is unequivocal. He believes he can win.
Speaker Mike Johnson, everyone else, they're standing behind me. No one has told me to get
burned out medic. Yeah, he is.
Off the ballot, and that's because they know I can win this seat and see this through, and that's what we're going to do.
But it's a risk for Republicans.
She has a restraining order. That should be enough, shouldn't it? Listen, without getting too far into it, like, you can be an alcoholic, you can have protective orders for your own children. Your own kids can refuse to talk to you. You can have judges say that you are guilty, and you can work for the government and not lose your job, and you can get around you can have a job that allows you to be around other people's children. Yeah, no, the courts aren't that great about shit like that. One of the real difficult problems in this country is that abusers can often be, you can protect the people who've been abused, but their future victims can't be protected. It's a tricky part about abusers.
In a district Trump won by 11 points just 2 years ago. And as voters weigh whether they can put questions about Miller's personal life aside at the ballot box.
The congressman and anybody in the public eye gets, focused on. So I don't know. Sometimes I feel sorry for him.
Democrats believe this is even more reason that it's time for Miller to be replaced in Washington.
With how he treats his wife, it's not something.
I mean, honestly, if Democrats were doing this because they just wanted to win, they wouldn't be asking for him to step aside. Like, this is better for Democrats if he stays in the race. So I appreciate people sticking with it. The point is, we don't want anybody like this. If he steps down and in Ohio he's replaced with somebody palatable, whoever that is probably wins. The fact that this guy's a monster is good for Democrats in this election. It's one of the few things that gives them a leg up in Ohio.
I want for my children, or for them to see as
yeah. She feels sorry for him.
Acceptable, and it's just he's a no for me.
MC Martinez said, "Doing my part, thank you." Walter said, "Difference between MAGA." I don't think I can say that. That's funny, but I think coming out of my mouth, that's not going to sound. I don't have the courage to say that. But it made me laugh.
Behind the scenes, Brianna, there is still a furious push from Republicans to try to convince Max Miller to exit this race, despite the fact that publicly you see that the president and the speaker are not calling for him to get out, at least not yet. It's also important to point out that August 10th is a critical deadline that is just in a couple of days, because if he does not exit the race by that point, there's no replacing him on the ballot. That means that the Republicans would not have a candidate if he decided to get out later to run against the Democrat challenging him here in Ohio's 7th Congressional District, Brian Poindexter. Brianna?
Yeah, very.
All right, I don't know a great deal about Brian Poindexter, but I'd like to learn about Brian Poindexter. He went on Out Front, and here's what we have. Here's what we're learning about Brian Poindexter. I could have summarized this, but we're gonna watch it together. About 30 minutes left today. Thank you guys. We about damn near knocked out that gift goal. I appreciate you guys. We have this video and one more, and then I'll probably cut it off, or two more, and then I'll probably cut it off because the last video we have takes a long time.
Out front now, the Democrat running against Max Miller this November, Brian Poindexter. He's a union iron worker and city councilman. Brian, you just heard at least two Republicans there telling Lauren they're conflicted. They still don't know if they would vote against Max Miller, but another Republican is still all in on Miller and said that Democrats tend to not pay attention to what we need as much as farmers. What's your reaction to what you heard?
Well, thank you for having me, but that comment just tells me that we have more work to do. We got in this race to build bridges with our Republican constituents here in 7th District, and I want to make them comfortable in supporting a Democrat who will fight for them. As a blue collar worker, I've had experience working across the aisle with my fellow brother and sister iron workers. We don't agree on everything politically, but we put that aside to get the job done. And that's what this campaign is built around, bringing people together to fight for working families. Working families in our district had a hard time because of the votes that Max Miller's taken in Congress. And I want to show them that
Poindexter's his real last name. Yeah, not making fun of him.
Somebody they can count on to fight for them.
So Miller told our Jake Tapper that he's confident he's going to win because the people in your district know who he is.
How dare you, TikTok? Too many uhs and ums. He's not going to make it. How dare you? I'm the king.
The work that he's done for them. Here's some of what he said.
He does kind of look like Eric Trump. That sucks, Dolphin.
For no second am I going to sit here and continue to be debased by false and baseless allegations and be pushed out of a seat I have worked so hard to represent and done a terrific job for our community. I've received more support than ever from our community, from the people.
That's not good. I've never had more support than when I was credibly accused of beating my child and my wife. Suddenly the Republicans were behind me like never before. That's not great. That's not great for you Republicans. We really rally around wife beaters.
Live. And that is why we are going to stay in this race and be successful.
He's held this seat for almost 4 years. Do you think he has his finger on the pulse of his constituents?
Not from what the constituents tell me out campaigning. He hasn't held any town hall since he's taken the seat. He very rarely attends public gatherings. He is now that that they see us at all these different events and building momentum. Now he wants to start coming out into the community. But if you asked any average person in this district, they wouldn't be able to point him out of a lineup. And it's because he's absent in district. But if you could point to some of the policies that he supported that have made it harder on families in this district, like his support for the big ugly bill, his support for the war in Iran, his support for the blanket tariffs that have driven up costs on families. A lot of the things he's voted on have hurt people in this district, and people are ready to set aside our differences and stand together united to fight for people in our.
I feel bad for the people of Ohio. I know there's some of our friends here from Ohio. I feel bad that it takes somebody beating their child and their wife for people in Ohio to consider not voting for Republicans. I don't know what's going on in Ohio. I don't know what you think is going on. I don't know what you're watching, but why in the world are you so hell-bent on voting for Republicans?
Our district and across this country.
President Trump previously said that he feels very badly for Max Miller. He was asked again about Miller.
If you saw those comments, Trump consistently says, I feel really bad for Max Miller. Not much about the kid and the wife. Just feels bad for Max Miller. He tends to side with the abuser a lot.
And if he should step aside, and here's what he said.
The deadline for Representative Max Miller to withdraw from his race is coming up next week. Do you believe he should withdraw?
Well, I'm not going to get involved in that. It's a very sad situation. And I know Max very well. But it's very, very sad that a situation like that takes place.
He refuses to say publicly whether or not he believes Miller should stay in the race because of these allegations. What do you say to President Trump?
I say, President Trump, I feel bad for Max Miller's family, his ex-wife, his daughter, his ex-father-in-law, and everybody else affected by the actions of Max Miller. And I've said
that's a good point there, Big Cat. He doesn't know Max. I don't believe Donald Trump knows anybody well at all.
Time and time again, if these allegations prove to be true, he should be in jail and not worried about holding a seat in Congress. And let's be clear, these aren't one-off allegations. There's a history of repeated behavior in his personal life and in Congress. I mean, he had his words stricken from the record in Congress from an outrageous outburst. You know.
All right, we can leave it there. I want to get to just one more thing before we wrap things up today. We said last week that no doubt the Department of Justice and the Republicans would figure out some way to try and charge Fauci with something. It's ironic that their argument last week was he can't plead the Fifth because he's immune, and now they're prosecuting him. So it turns out he was right to plead the Fifth, just legally speaking. That was the right thing to do. But we still don't really know what crime he committed. And we'll ask, I know some of you guys hate this. If you hate the COVID shit, get out of here. But I'll ask Republicans one more time what crime it is that you think Dr. Fauci committed. Here is former Trump White House attorney Ty Cobb pointing out what anybody who isn't 3 inches deep in Trump's asshole knows, that this is all a farce, that this Department of Justice is a joke, and all they're doing is trying to prosecute people that they don't like.
Ty, the DOJ said it has received this criminal referral now from the Senate. They're reviewing.
See, there it is. No, I asked you guys what crime he committed. That's not defending him. If you say that somebody committed a crime and I ask you what crime they committed, that's not a defense of them. You guys got to tell us what crime he committed.
Viewing it, do you expect that they'll charge Fauci?
I do, only because that, as we know now, that it's no longer the Department of Justice; it's the Department of Grievance and Revenge. And Trump's efforts to beat up on Pirro this week for having finally acknowledged.
I love this, guys. Pause this and watch the chat real quick. One more time, guys. I'm going to ask you, what crime did he commit? And they're just like, are you kidding? Fauci ruined the world. Literally, somebody said Fauci ruined the world. Just what's the crime, though?
The facts.
Insisted the vaccine was safe. It is, and that's not a crime.
As opposed to further indulging his fantasy about
Fauci funded the gainer function for COVID-19. No, he didn't.
What really caused the damage to the reflecting pool has put her in a position where I think she's determined to follow his marching orders. And we know Ty Blanche, having attempted to assist the president in looting the Treasury.
Okay, perjury. That was a real crime. I appreciate that. You did spell perjury as if like a cat was purring, but what did he do? How did he perjure himself? What was the thing he lied about?
Almost $2
under oath
billion and immunizing him from further IRS review, along with his family, is willing to do virtually anything the president demands. So I suspect that
Fauci didn't commit a crime. Why did Biden give him a preemptive pardon? I don't know. But getting a preemptive pardon, doesn't mean that you committed a crime, right? You still would have. Doesn't it seem like you should be able to tell us what crime he committed? Second explosive bullet is. Why are you just asking more questions? Just tell us what the crime was instead. It'd save you a lot of words.
Department of Justice will indict Dr. Fauci, and I also suspect that a court will throw it out, and that certainly that no jury would ever convict him.
So, I mean, to that point, why do you think there's not a real case against him? And do you think it was a mistake for him to take the Fifth?
Oh, no, I think he absolutely did the right thing to take the Fifth. There is no question that Rand Paul wants him behind bars, that the Republicans want.
He lied about lack of transmission between a pregnant woman and a child. I don't remember that. Do you have a source for that?
To exact some measure of vengeance with regard to Dr. Fauci, and that he did the absolute right thing. He was well advised by his lawyer, who was a very good lawyer, David Sherler, to take the Fifth. He took the Fifth. He's not a lawyer. He's a doctor, and his lawyer advised him to take the Fifth. I think it was the prudent thing to do and the correct thing to do, and I think it's a complete defense to the charge of contempt. Unlike Bannon and Navarro, keep in mind, neither of them asserted the Fifth Amendment. They both asserted executive privilege, which was a fraudulent defense in both cases because the president had not asserted the executive privilege.
which is why they went to jail. Amy said Trump's Department of Justice has charged more than 47 of his enemies, and 0 of them have been convicted. That's not a great percentage. I know some of you MAGA, the way that math works is that's 0% convictions out of 47. That's not great. In fact, that's like historically bad.
So I played a few minutes ago Trump in the Oval Office saying that the Fauci case is similar to Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, who were both charged and convicted for
Fauci gave me superpowers. Same. I can fly now.
Of Congress, both going to prison.
Once you get a pardon, you can't take the 5th on the case, and that's law. This isn't a courtroom, dummy. I don't know if you know how our government works. And you absolutely. Fauci is only pardoned for federal crimes. States can still charge him with crimes if they want to. So why would he incriminate himself? And they could absolutely use that hearing. Let's just say that he was guilty of a crime. He can absolutely assert his Fifth Amendment right. That's just something that Josh Hawley said, and you guys think he's smart, so you repeated it. Burned Out said for the dues, thank you very much.
Is this case similar to those?
Not remotely. It's brought under the same statute, USC Section 192, which is the contempt of Congress statute, but that's where the similarity diverges. Fauci asserted the Fifth Amendment privilege, which is a constitutional privilege against having to testify. He showed up. Neither of them showed up, and they both argued that they were doing so at the direction of the president when it turned out there was no evidence that the president had actually asserted the executive privilege. So in both those cases where the defense was contrived, they were found guilty and served 4 months in jail. Dr. Fauci will never be found guilty, and it's quite likely the court would throw the case out.
Again, I don't even know what they're going to charge him with. It's pretty... he had no real authority to do anything. Even those people that are like, he funded gain-of-function research. That's not even how that works. Like, it seems like you don't know that Fauci couldn't just send money wherever he wanted to. Right? There were every time any money was sent, any time that went through, it had to be appropriated, and then it went through committees, and it went through intermediaries. This idea that like Fauci just like called China is like, hey, I'm going to give you some gain-of-function money so that you can unleash a virus on the world. And China's like, hell yeah, dude. I think that's what you think happened. That's a tough thing to prove. Thank you. Oh, I got that from Burned Out. All right. Here was one of my favorite clips. What's her name? Sunshine on my shoulders. I forget her name. This is the hysterical phase that we're at now. I mean, I know I'm not supposed to use that for women. I apologize. But like when you start hearing people talk about Fauci this way, in the same way that they're talking in the chat, it's because they legitimately don't know. They know that they're upset. They know that everybody around them is upset about Dr. Fauci, but none of them can really explain why. And so we wind up with crazy shit like this.
About prosecuting him, the guy should be in a mental institution. He's a textbook sociopath. I mean, DSM-5 level sociopath who was running our pandemic response. Low empathy, ability to inflict pain on innocents, narcissism. I mean, let me read diary entries.
What? Thank God she's not diagnosing people. Thank fucking God. Who did he inflict pain on?
Who? Who are you verbatim? At the height of the pandemic.
The gain-of-function funding was in 2018 under Trump. Let's charge Trump. No, we can't charge Trump. He's perfect. It's Fauci.
At the height of the pandemic.
Hold on, Caroline.
This is March 2020.
Caroline, let me just ask
He's
you.
writing in his diary.
Hold on. What are you talking about? Are you suggesting that he should be in a mental institution for having an ego, which I think
close to that.
Which I think would characterize just about every single person in Washington. Is that the
textbook sociopath writing in a diary and going on TV for interviews? Arrogant, sure. I agree with that. I think Fauci's arrogant. Now this is what happens when you don't have a crime. You're just like, oh, he just should be in a mental institution. For what reason? First of all, that doesn't exist. He's a sociopath. Why? Because he was writing in his diary and went on TV. Oh, okay.
of the pandemic, when Americans aren't allowed to see grandma dying of COVID, what is Anthony Fauci writing about?
Caroline,
the media is so hot.
Respectfully, there is one person at this table who worked with Dr. Fauci. I worked at the White House.
Written about me.
Caroline, I worked at the White House.
Yeah, that didn't happen though, right? Like that's not what his diary said. This is where we're at, Republicans. You guys just want to jail Dr. Fauci instead of doing anything for this country. Instead of admitting to yourselves what a colossal failure Donald Trump is, you are trying to blame Dr. Fauci for the actions of Donald Trump.
During COVID, I was Trump's deputy press secretary during COVID. So I actually worked with people like Dr. Fauci.
He couldn't keep him off TV. You're in the press office. You would know his face was on.
And guess what, Caroline? Guess what? Of course, I will acknowledge, was it very frustrating working in the White House press office and him being on a magazine cover or doing an interview on TV where he's talking ill about the White House and its COVID response? Yes, that was annoying. But the thing is that them trying to scapegoat him and say that it's all his fault, we were dealing with a novel virus. This was once in a lifetime generational pandemic. And so we were all figuring it out as we were going.
He was busy reading his own press clips. They made donuts.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. So, bro, Fauci created a pandemic in an attempt to prevent a Trump presidency succeeding. Oh, okay. Why didn't Trump fire him? How come Trump just kept listening to him and didn't fire him? Anybody? So obvious. How come Trump also? Why did Trump get vaccinated? Why did Trump continue to get vaccinated? Why does he brag about Operation Warp Speed? You guys have a very curious set of beliefs. Everything Trump said it. He's like, anything good that happens, I get credit for it. If it's bad, it's not my fault. And you guys are like, that's right. That is actually how we're going to handle you. And you just show up and you do it every day.
And you don't think that Donald Trump and all the other senators on the Hill are just as narcissistic? I mean, come on. Those guys would slit someone's throat to go on Fox.
Yeah. That was one of the worst offenses I've heard from Sunshine. He's a narcissist. Almost as bad as the person who said he created a virus to take down Trump. That's pretty crazy. All right, last thing, and then I think this will probably take up the bulk of it. I just want to say, first of all, it's Margaret Brennan, right? Like, incredible job here. She had on Jay Bhattacharya, who is currently, I believe, the acting director of the NIH or CDC. I can't remember. To talk about the very muddled, confusing, conflicting positions of this administration. Donald Trump not only is the reason why the vaccine was pushed through quickly, which you guys call rushed and untested. That was due to Donald Trump. He's also vaccinated. He also believes that the COVID vaccine saves lives. He also thinks that Fauci was the problem. And now we have a complete anti-vaxxer in RFK who thinks that entire thing, that the COVID virus was fake and that the COVID vaccine didn't do anything. And then you have Jay Bhattacharya, who actually believes the vaccines are useful, effective, and I believe has the opposite opinion of RFK. And so it's really hard to figure out what exactly this administration's pushing. And I thought Brennan did a really good job here sorting through all this shit.
Of the National Institutes of Health, Dr. Jay.
I think you just signed something that said the MMR has to be split up, which is stupid. There's no science behind that. That's just feelings.
Good morning to you, Doctor.
Good morning.
And we should mention you're also helping to run the CDC until the new director is sworn in as well.
Until next Wednesday, yes.
Until next Wednesday. So let me ask you about a number of things that I think people at home are worried about, particularly around the food supply. The cyclospora outbreak linked to iceberg lettuce from Mexico is now in 15 states. There were 2 deaths this week due to it. Yesterday, USDA issued an alert for a range of products that may have salmonella, including meat and poultry.
Nice.
27 states are affected by salmonella, possibly linked to jalapenos, but cilantro, red onion, avocado also listed in a CDC notice. Albertsons, a grocery store, just recalled some items. There's risk of salmonella in eggs in Texas, according to the CDC. And then you have the screwworm outbreak affecting beef. This is overwhelming for someone going into a grocery store right now. Why do they seem out of control?
Well, the cyclospora outbreak is larger than in
Yeah, it was sarcastic, John.
normal years. I mean, normal years there actually is a cyclospora cases. I'll say the 2 deaths that you mentioned, they happened in late June, early July, before we identified the source. And so folks that are listening, you can rest assured the CDC and the FDA are working hard to trace back exactly where these outbreaks are occurring from, intervening with the sort of suppliers to make sure that they don't, and doing recalls to make
That's
sure.
why we need to not let foreign grown food into the U.S. It's also a reason that we need to have heavily regulated food. Every one of these outbreaks came alongside cuts to the CDC and the groups that are meant to monitor these outbreaks. We cut every single one of these outbreaks is accompanied by cuts.
That the disease doesn't, condition doesn't spread. I mean, it's tough. You go to a grocery store, you buy lettuce, and you say, okay, can I buy the lettuce?
Yeah.
And what I say to folks listening, we're working hard to make sure that the contaminated sources don't get onto the shelves. And if you're worried, you can buy the lettuce, but make sure you wash it carefully. You don't eat the outer leaves. And if you're really worried, just cook your vegetables.
But we're not hearing from the FDA. I mean, should there be a restriction on imports from central Mexico right now? It seems like a lot of things are tied back.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing is that when we find a contaminated source, we intervene. I can't speak for the FDA, thank God. It's just the NIH and the CDC. But I can say that the folks who I have worked with at the FDA they're a great team of folks that are tracking back and finding the source.
Yeah, this will be the last video, then we're done today. If you guys want to help us, there's a little bit left in that gift goal. If you want to help us knock that out, dollar train would be great. We'll knock that out by the end of the live here. Again, this is Jay Bhattacharya, the director of the National Institutes of Health. And currently, I don't know what his exact role is with the CDC, but he's doing something with the CDC until Wednesday.
These outbreaks. And for cyclospora specifically, it's complicated because for technical reasons, it's more difficult than if it was just a bacteria to find the exact source. But they've done a great job.
Hot-ass salad.
And they've been cooperating with the CDC team that I've led the last few months to try to identify the source. And, it's what we know now is because of that hard work that's gone on.
But there are also a number of other health issues, including measles.
I don't think you know that Fauci asked for a pardon. I don't think you know that. We don't know.
Cases now at their highest level in 35 years. The CDC says only 10 U.S. states have measles vaccine coverage rates above the 95% threshold in the prior school year. That is so key because that is, as you know, a marker for basically a way to stop transmission, herd immunity. Do you believe that the federal government needs to make a really full-throated push to tell parents, go get your kids vaccinated with the MMR vaccine?
One of the first things I did as CDC director, I think it was back in February of this year, was that there was a big outbreak in South Carolina. And I went on, I don't know if TV is the right word, but I went on camera and I recommended that the best way to end the measles outbreak there was to have their parents vaccinate their kids for measles.
Yeah.
And the outbreak has now ended in South Carolina, in part because of that. There's been a lot of outbreaks, not just in the United States, but around the world.
Yes.
Real Jackson, instead of asking dumb questions like why would somebody get a pardon unless they're guilty of something, just tell me what he's guilty of. I keep asking you guys that. But this is the difference, I think, between conservatives and progressives all the time, is your unwillingness to get a fucking answer. Like you want to state things as if you know what you're talking about, but like go get an answer. Stop asking questions like that's an answer. That's not an answer. What was the crime he committed? Great. Let's discuss it. Tell me the crime. Let's look at the evidence. Let's figure out if he committed a crime. But just saying all the time, like, why did he get a pardon? You know why he would get a pardon? Because like Amy said earlier, the Trump DOJ has charged more than 47 people listed as enemies, and they have 0 convictions. Of those 47 people, you might say, oh, they didn't wind up in jail, so nothing happened. They all had to pay attorneys. Many of them then had to deal online with a bunch of vitriol, being doxxed, getting threatened. It's not sunshine and rainbows when you go up against the DOJ, especially with Donald Trump using the bully pulpit. If you are an enemy of Donald Trump, if he has listed you as one of his enemies, like, I don't blame you for wanting a pardon. I don't like pardons. I don't think they should exist. But if you can't tell me what the crime is, then stop asking dumb questions. Go get an answer.
And, a lot of that has to do with
Oh, we did the same thing to Trump. He was convicted 100. Listen, let's go back again. Amy said Trump has charged 47 enemies with 0 convictions. Donald Trump was charged and went to court 3 times. All 3 times he was found either liable or guilty, 100% of the time. So 100% of the time that Donald Trump has taken his enemies to court, they have been let go. 100% of the times that Donald Trump was taken to court, he lost. There is a significant difference. It's not, and you say, look, you did the same thing. No, I didn't do shit. And the Department of Justice didn't do that either. Those were civil charges and a state charge. That wasn't the Department of Justice on any of those 3. You have to start learning what you're talking about before you talk about it, because you sound dumb. You just sound like you're inside of Donald Trump's pants. I live in here with the other shit. We just blame everybody for everything and we never take accountability. 100% of the time he went to court, he lost. That's not a good percentage. 100% of the time he's taken his enemies to court, he's lost. 0% wins, 100% losses. This dude is the who's that team that used to play the Harlem Globetrotters? What were they called? That's him.
Sort of a collapse in sort of public trust in a lot of science, public health measures that occurred during the pandemic for reasons we can discuss. For me, the most important thing is to try to regain that trust.
Right, but why not? You can have TV ads. You can have something that's more of a national.
All right, explain that. We put an anti-vaxxer in charge of measles. Womp. No, it's probably not that. That's probably not the problem. There's something else.
Push. It was notable last week.
Washington Generals. Thank you. Donald Trump is the Washington Generals.
Secretary Kennedy went on television and did say parents should get kids vaccinated for measles because it's effective at preventing infection. Roughly 97.
You can't set people up and then act like you estimated his properties fairly. That was irrelevant, brother. You have to understand the difference between like a county assessment and an assessment of what something would sell for. You don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago, you can say Mar-a-Lago is worth whatever you want to say, but the assessment of Mar-a-Lago was the amount Trump paid taxes on. You think Trump actually wanted Mar-a-Lago to be worth like $60 million? No, then he would have had to pay property taxes on $60 million. This is the irony and the stupidity of MAGA. Donald Trump and Palm Beach, like they literally lobby their local government so that when they get an assessment on their property, the assessment is lower than they want. Now, there's easements all over Mar-a-Lago. It's not actually like you can't. I'm trying to remember. Like it's not. There's only like a small amount that can be considered a residence. It's really hard to sell Mar-a-Lago. It's hard to even put a value on it. So to keep taxes low and to keep billionaires and millionaires happy in Palm Beach, they lobby their local government and say, hey, let's get an assessor in there that's going to assess our property to be worth significantly less than it should be. And then they used that assessment that Donald Trump paid taxes on. And then they're like, look, what are they saying about these properties? It's worth way more than that. Okay, then pay the taxes. You were cool with that. You were cool with that assessment when you were paying the taxes on it. But now you're like, oh, it's worth more. It's silly. If you just understood basic shit, MAGA, you'd stop worshiping this obvious dumbass.
% of the time. That was a change for him. He has not always been that clear, as you know. Why not blast that across the airwaves of America?
I mean, I think that I've done my best to try to do that. Every time anyone's asked me about vaccinating for their kids for measles, I say exactly that. The best way to protect your kids from measles is to get the vaccine for measles.
Maybe they're a little confused because a bunch of Republicans in Congress and people like RFK are giving them mixed messages. And they're like, if our government's saying that we shouldn't be vaccinated, and almost nobody knows who Jay Bhattacharya is, maybe that's the problem.
This country's going to lose its measles elimination status in
as did
November.
Canada, as did Mexico.
But
as
that's
did
not
UK.
accessible, right? For gold standard science.
But I think the thing is if you look at the actual what's happened, like there's specific states where you've had these outbreaks, big outbreaks.
Okay, Grunts, you literally have no clue what you're talking about. Tax assessments are not the real estate value of the property. Yeah, that's what I just said, dude. That's literally what I just said. Almost word for word what I just said. You have no idea what you're talking about. Now let me repeat word for word exactly what you just said.
in Texas, which has now been addressed. Big outbreak in Arizona and Utah that's been addressed. South
What
Carolina.
about all the billionaire Democrats that do the same tricks all around the country? Fine, take them to court. I don't give a shit. You think I give a shit about Democrats, rich Democrats? Take them all to court. I don't care.
That's been addressed. Now what we saw was an outbreak in Virginia, again, coming down sharply in now Pennsylvania. It's specific communities of people that are the highest risk that we have to focus on, as well as the broader sort of message that it's important for children to be vaccinated for the measles if we want to address the measles outbreak.
Well, that's why I brought up herd immunity, because it puts everyone at risk, right? Not just people. But on this issue, you were down in Atlanta this past week. This is 1 year since that horrific shooting at CDC headquarters. Officer David Rose was honored this past week. He was killed last year protecting CDC employees from a gunman. And we should note he was a combat veteran, a United States Marine who had just...
Yeah, exactly. Just so he's just like, well, Canada and Mexico also lost their gold standard. Yeah, you know what else is happening in Canada and Mexico? There's a bunch of anti-vax rhetoric there too. A lot of times along like religious lines, which is silly. Well, my fairy tale says that I shouldn't be vaccinated. Okay, we'll just put everybody at risk.
Graduated 5 months prior from the police academy. 3 kids left behind. The shooter was motivated by misinformation about the COVID vaccine. That is why he shot over 100 bullets into the windows of the CDC. Is enough being done to counter this kind of misinformation?
I should start with, I got to talk with Officer Rose's wife a few months back.
So are they admitting he committed a crime? They are. They just don't know that they're admitting it.
One of the first things I did is to honor him and his sacrifice in protecting the people that work at the CDC, the amazing people who work at the CDC, was we renamed the street that leads into the CDC after him, and it was a really nice event. I'll tell you, the thing is...
Jen, I saw that. The real fascists are the people behind microphones on the internet. Yeah, Mussolini was famously a YouTuber. Mussolini's like, can we not call YouTube streamers fascists? I'm the fascist. I started this gangster shit.
I want to focus my attention on Officer Rose because I think the shooter did was horrific, and I think you can talk about why shooters do things, but really fundamentally.
Well, his father said he was brainwashed about the COVID vaccine and thought it was making him suicidal. That's what his
the thing is, it's like to talk about the shooter puts the emphasis on somebody who's. I think we shouldn't be putting our emphasis on.
No, I am on misinformation about.
I think the key thing is there's a loss of public trust in public health that happened in part because of a lot of, frankly, even on this network and on other networks, there was a.
Now here's the part where they start talking about the public trust and how it's everybody else's fault. I will happily listen to anybody who says that CNN or Joe Biden lied about COVID or got things wrong about COVID. They certainly did. If you think, though, that it was CNN censoring COVID misinformation about hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, if that was the real problem and not the people that were like, there's a microchip, then I don't know what to tell you. You have to understand data. You have to look at data. You have to look at studies. You have to recognize reality. Like there was a not insignificant amount of people. People got elected to Congress saying they put a microchip in the COVID vaccine, and they got elected by Republicans.
Particular single point of view put across.
Cool. What did they intentionally lie about, Lolly?
During the COVID pandemic about how, that led to things that really did cause harm to people. The school closures is probably the number one thing.
This is not a productive line of claims. We covered COVID in depth on this program like no other Sunday show did.
I'm not blaming you specifically. What I'm saying is, you want to talk about misinformation. The kinds of decisions and sort of the public sort of face of public health during the pandemic led to many people losing trust in public health.
The Trump administration officials.
No, I mean like Biden. So Biden, for instance,
the
censored
pandemic began under the Trump administration.
But just so we're clear, the Biden administration censored me. Right? They sent out direct attacks on people who disagreed on the COVID on sort of whether the COVID vaccine stopped it.
RFK Jr.
I mean, when they say targeted him, they just mean that they disagreed with him. When he says targeted, he means disagreed. So he put out something called the Great Barrington Declaration, and it was critical of lockdown, school closures, and universal mandates. And some of that is fine. But for the Biden administration to come out and refute some of his claims, that's not an attack. That's just a refutation.
Are called the COVID
Like, they didn't try and lock him up. They didn't charge him with anything. They just disagreed with him.
vaccine, the deadliest vaccine ever made. That is misinformation, and we're not being clear about that. And I think that is dangerous.
People lost
Wouldn't
their
you
jobs,
agree?
Margaret, because the Biden administration censored people and said, look, you can't even talk about COVID vaccine harms. Yeah, and I'm talking about why you have the kind of distrust that's led to the kind of
yeah, it was censorship. I've said that. But Biden, who did Biden censor? You say Biden and social media. It's not Biden and social media. It's social media. They censored people. They're allowed to. If you're upset about censorship by social media companies, then boycott them. Sue them. But who did Biden censor?
Problems that we're talking about earlier.
Biden mandated vaccines to babies? Nope. No, he didn't. There were no federal vaccine mandates.
Public health. That distrust was not caused by President Trump. It wasn't caused by Bobby. It was caused by a lot of sort of really fundamentally, but often spread by the government itself regarding natural immunity, closure of schools, closures of mask mandates. People lost their jobs because of these vaccine mandates that didn't make any public health sense.
I'd love to see his data on that. The more every bit of data I've seen says if you're vaccinated, you're less likely to transmit and receive the virus. How does that not make sense? You might not like it. You might think it's an attack on your freedom. That you can make a good argument there if you want. But when they say it doesn't make sense, like, the data is pretty overwhelming.
So if you want to talk about public trust, you have to embrace that fully, right? You can't just talk about it in a narrow political way.
I'm talking about a shooting at the CDC and an officer you said you just went to honor. That's what I was talking
Good point. Amy said, which president said they wanted to downplay it so the public didn't get scared? Yeah, I wonder. That was Trump, wasn't it?
about. You're talking about something else.
Just about 5 minutes left of this video, and then we'll be done for the day. If you guys want to help us knock out that gift goal, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App are the way to go. TikTok, thank you guys so much for your support. We stayed up this entire time. Johnny, Laura, Lee, Jen, Dolphin, and Carol. Thanks for being the top gifters on TikTok.
Oh, no, you're trying.
I also asked you about shoring up public health
what you're
in the
talking about is
vaccine.
what you're talking about is you're trying to blame the shooting on Bobby.
No, I'm not. I'm reading you what his father said.
No, what you're saying, what you're implying is that somehow the lack of public trust.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about your visit there. And is enough being done?
I think it's
Let's
really
talk
unfortunate.
about, since you want to restore public trust, tell me what you're doing now, because the Washington Post and Bloomberg reported the White House is preparing an executive order on vaccines and autism. What is it going to prescribe? What is it going to do? Why are we seeing another announcement here when I know you are launching research into a plethora of issues that are contributing factors potentially to autism? Why would the White House be saying only look at this thing?
Well, I would have to ask the president about specifics of the executive order. I'll tell you what
Do you think
we're
that's
doing.
restoring trust in vaccines?
The purpose of you can ask.
What do you mean total? Where was you said there were 8 federal vaccine mandates. What I was responding to is somebody said that the Biden administration mandated vaccines for infants. You have that? Or was I wrong about that?
President about the executive order, but I'll tell you what the focus of the president has been.
You don't know about the executive order?
I won't be able to tell you specifically what's on it because I don't think it's done yet, but you can ask the president about it. What I can tell you is that the president cares deeply, as does Bobby, about the rise in autism. I know you do as well. There's so many families around the country that have had, have faced the issues of this.
And
right?
we want real information.
And so I, as NIH director, have been focused on making sure that we have some.
You think it helps your legitimacy when you come out and you say that Tylenol caused the autism? You think that helps get people's trust? Without any scientific backing whatsoever, you guys came out and said Tylenol causes autism, and you want to talk about public trust like it's somebody else's fault?
science that addresses that very complicated question about why we've seen a rise in autism. It's not going to be a simple answer. Last year,
also a good point. What's wrong with autism?
Authorized something called the Autism Data Science Initiative. That we're going to have a big sort of early sort of results from it in a couple of weeks from the dozen and more scientific teams that have been funded to look at this, with a mandate of thinking very broadly, not just genes, not just environmental exposures, but potential interactions. We don't know. If you ask me as a scientist, do I know why we've seen this rise in autism? I'll tell you, I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, then maybe point at your administration who says that it was Tylenol, because you're saying as a scientist you don't know the answer to that, but the administration said Tylenol. So maybe point the finger that way. Like, maybe Trump should stop saying that.
And the fact that it gets so tied up with, okay, is it vaccines, not vaccines? What it does is it sends a signal to scientists that if you work on this topic, you're going to get destroyed if you get the wrong answer.
Yeah.
I've tried my hardest. The way you build public trust is allow people to talk and think without that kind of sort of political overlay. I've tried my very hardest as NIH director to allow that to happen.
Which is so key for science, which is why I'm asking you why the president putting out an order specifically focused on what seems to be preconceived notion, how that wouldn't be undermining.
You're jumping ahead. I mean, I don't know exactly this executive order, neither do you. So it's not, yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you don't. My colleague, Matt Gutman here at...
Okay, expat, what was the specific COVID vaccine mandate for toddlers? What was it?
CBS asked you last week whether you think vaccines cause autism. You said you don't know for certain. You said there isn't evidence that any vaccine causes autism, but you also don't have evidence that vaccines do not.
That's true. Also circumcision. Well, Lise, that's the thing. Circumcision led to autism because the mothers... Oh, wait, no, that was pregnancy. Is it because they took Tylenol after? Why was circumcision causing autism? I don't remember. Wasn't it Tylenol related?
Okay, so I just want to be very clear what I actually said.
Please be clear. Yeah. Should parents trust that they can go vaccinate?
Ty, you have no evidence of that. He says that RFK Jr. is right. Vaccines are contributing to autism. Tylenol under very specific conditions too. Two things can be true at once, except for neither of those things are proven to be true. You're saying things as facts that you don't have data to back up.
Their kids when their doctor tells them to do so for them to go back to school.
I think that parents, for most kids, especially for the measles vaccines, the DTP, all the standard childhood vaccines, it's very important that parents vaccinate their kids. As far as can they feel confident sending back to schools, I just to push back some, it was a tremendous mistake to cause parents to fear about sending their kids to school during the COVID pandemic. The kids were better off in school. We shouldn't be scaring public.
I'm talking about what people do now. It's August.
Expat, the Head Start mandate, vaccine mandates, there was two options there, right? You could be mandated or you could get tested daily, and they provided the test. So there wasn't a vaccine mandate. You had the option to be tested every day. And if you didn't have COVID when you're tested, you could work. And if you had COVID, you went home.
It's about to be September.
Yeah, but Margaret,
we're not talking about 2020. I'm talking about 2026.
We're talking about the why people have
from the federal government
just so we're
and
clear,
the top health official.
If you want clarity, let me give you some clarity.
Please.
The reason why you have this problem of public trust is because what happened in 2020 has not yet been addressed.
Can these parents trust you and the recommendation that they should get their kids vaccinated?
The parents should trust me. I'm giving my recommendation. I've vaccinated my kids. I don't think that it is I think if you want to protect your kids from these sort of parental diseases, yes, you should vaccinate your kids. But it is even more important that these kids go to school. Mm-hmm. That in no way, shape, or form should this show or any other show like it.
This is a bizarre position, though, that Republicans find themselves in, where they say that COVID vaccines are so bad because people don't go to school, while also simultaneously saying public school is ruining our children. So I understand what you're saying, and I don't know where Bhattacharya stands on public school, but it is an interesting place that Republicans find themselves. It's like, public school's the devil, but if you keep us from public school, our entire society falls apart.
Perpetuate the idea that sending their kids to school is worse because there's going to be some health risk there, when it's just not true, right? If you want to protect your kids from those preventable diseases, vaccinate your kids. I've been very, very clear about that. But it is a mistake And it contributes to the lack of public trust if you sort of fearmonger around, oh, if you send your kids to school, well, you might be around unvaccinated kids. That's a tremendous mistake, right? If you vaccinate your kids, you can protect your kids from those risks, whatever they are. In any case, it's better to send the kids.
That's like, who said that? This host is a cornball. That one actually does hurt my feelings. I've been called a lot of fucking things on this show, and they usually don't hurt my feelings. But cornball's a tough one. I don't want to be a cornball. I might be. You might be right about that. I just want you to know that you landed on that one, and you probably don't like my politics, but I just want to give you props. That's a tough one to overcome. I don't like being called a cornball.
It's a school because that's how you keep kids healthy.
Yes. We want to send our kids to school.
But now addressing what happened in 2020 is part of that. If you want to say why there's this loss of public trust, you have to really wrap your arms around that.
But you trust the science and the health workers and the vaccines now, is what I understood you were saying. And so that is the message that I think
science. I've looked at the scientific evidence, and there's lots. I personally have made decisions for my family around those lines too. So
that's good to know. Thank you. We're going to leave it there.
All right. Very confusing. I don't envy Jay Bhattacharya or anybody working in this administration trying to make sense of any sort of vaccine discussion, because they're all over the place. It is bizarre to watch real scientists have to work for RFK Jr. and figure out a way to like mesh all these ideas together without sounding like an insane person. All right, Jen, did I miss any comments?
Nothing from me.
Nothing from you? Okay, I don't think I missed any here. Double check there. Any last words before we get out of here?
Nope. That's
okay.
all.
All right. A little low energy to finish things off. Thanks, Jen. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I know it was a weird end to the week last week, missing Thursday and Friday. So thanks for showing up again today. I will see you tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here wherever you watch today. Thank you for those on TikTok who helped gift today and keep the live from going down. We're restricted, but we didn't go down today. So that's a win. For those who hung out with us on Facebook, Twitch and YouTube, thank you guys so much. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. Until I see you guys tomorrow morning, though, take care of yourselves. Go outside and touch grass. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. If you can't smoke grass or touch grass, then best of luck to you. Reach down. Wherever you are, reach down right now and see if you've got some bootstraps. If you do have bootstraps, pull yourself up, buy those bootstraps, and then get those boots and put them on the ground and go do something good. But before you do, take a look in the mirror, say something nice about yourself, and drink some water. Stay hydrated. Take some water with you. And until I see you guys again tomorrow morning and every weekday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your family. Take care of your loved ones. Be nice where you can, and stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.